All right, you may be seated.
I was just told that there's no.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Awesome, Sam.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I wanted to ask you first off, I think your conclusion, what you stated earlier, is that based on your expert review of that Baldwin revolver, the shooter had to have fully cocked that weapon and pulled that trigger to cause it to fire. Is that?
She's not.
Oh, I'm
Can't
sorry.
hear.
I apologize. Let me start over, if it's okay, Your Honor. Okay. Sir, if I can ask that again, I think your conclusion, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the Baldwin revolver that you examined, in your expert opinion, that the shooter had to have fully cocked that weapon and had to have pulled that trigger all the way, pulled the trigger to fire it.
Yes, on the first part, I bifurcated my answer in the report. Either pull the trigger, which I regard as a volitional act, or have already depressed it. If he
Yes, sir.
already depressed it, the very instant he let go of the hammer, it would fire.
So, sir, for example, if Mr. Baldwin were cross-drawing that weapon and had his finger in the trigger guard, and then he pulled it and it had it fully cocked and it slipped and let go, would that fire that weapon?
Only if he had the trigger pulled or depressed. They're
Okay.
similar, but I make a slight distinction between it being depressed versus pulled.
Okay, so, sir, so either way, that shooter had to either have it depressed, have his finger in the trigger, or pull that trigger for that to fire.
And have it cocked.
And have it cocked.
Fully cocked.
Fully cocked.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now, I noticed earlier when you were doing a demonstration with the jury, you exercised extreme muzzle discipline, I'm going to call it. You learned that, correct? Not to ever point that weapon at an individual, a human?
Long ago.
Yes, sir. Been around guns a long time?
I have.
And one of the most important rules, and I saw when you walked down, you had it either down, up, it was never pointed at a person. That's one of the most important rules of gun safety, isn't it?
I agree.
Okay. And sir, another rule that I noticed when your son was on that video, and when you were demonstrating, you never had your finger in that trigger guard. Is that another rule you learned from a long time ago?
Well, we were demonstrating something there in which the trigger
Yes.
saved the gun from firing. If we had depressed it, of course, it wouldn't be a useful demonstration.
No, and I understand. My question wasn't good. You never put your finger in that trigger guard until you were ready to pull that trigger in some manner.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to the cross draw, and I know you've been around guns for a long time, but with regard to the cross draw, would you agree that somebody that was not familiar with that draw would need to have training on that draw?
You'd have to have some understanding of where the firearm is, how the holster works, whether it's got a safety strap or not, and then, of course, get it out of that area and swing it around, as was shown in the videos that I've looked at of Mr. Baldwin.
Yes, sir. And did you see the video where when he pulls it out, his finger is in the trigger guard? Did you see that?
I certainly did.
And again, that can be very dangerous, sir, based on your expert conclusion, if he has that fully cocked, correct?
And it's loaded and fully cocked, yes.
Yes, sir. And so when you watched that video, did you make a determination as to whether he should have drawn that with his finger in the trigger guard?
It's been a while since I've looked at it. I was trying to decide a couple of other things. If that's the evidence gun, I was satisfied it was because of the plain bare metal hammer. And then, of course, looking at, can I really determine if his finger's inside the trigger guard but not on the trigger itself? I could never resolve that
Okay.
because of the camera angle.
And in any event, you should not have your finger on the trigger in that cross draw.
Well, it doesn't matter what it's a cross draw. It's if you're going to cock the gun, which he did after it's out. I do remember that. When it's out of the holster, you can see him cocking it. It's now clear of the holster. But I'm back to, I can't tell if he's already got the trigger depressed or it gets pulled later.
Okay, sir. And with regard to your conclusion, I want to make sure I was clear on that. I know that you, and I don't want to use the word critical, but you didn't think that aggressive testing by the FBI was a good idea?
I didn't think it was necessary in this case, given the context. What are the issues in the case? In my mind, it was never an issue that the hammer got struck by anything or that the gun got dropped.
And so you didn't believe that the FBI even needed to do that test?
From my viewpoint, no. It
Okay.
was not a useful or necessary test to strike the hammer of the fully cocked evidence gun.
Did you also say that you did not find any damage to that weapon that would have prevented it from firing as designed? And I'm talking about not after the FBI, but prior. Is that your conclusion?
Yes, if the hammer were replaced and the trigger replaced and the bolt, it was a perfectly functioning, authentic replica of a classic firearm.
Okay, sir, and in your inspection of that weapon, that Baldwin revolver, did you see any modifications that would have changed the firing characteristics of that weapon?
No, not at all. In fact, I went through, I think there are 12 other revolvers. 9 of them are Pietas. And I took them all apart with the help of my younger son, Mike, and we looked at the sears, the triggers, the full cock notches, and they were all equivalent. You could have swapped them out because they're carefully manufactured parts. So that's how I addressed and answered that question in my own mind.
Okay, sir, so other than the FBI testing, breaking those components, you didn't see any other evidence of modification or damage?
I did not.
Okay, sir. With regard to the rounds that you were talking about, the Starline brass is used by hand loaders at times. Hand loaders use Starline brass, is that true?
Yes, that's their primary market. I'm one of their consumers. Small ammunition companies like the box of ammunition that the prosecutor showed earlier have also used their brass. Remington, Winchester, they of course have their own.
So, and can you tell the jury, a hand loader, if they use, they can use any type of primer, any type of powder, any type of bullet in a case, right? In the hand loader?
No, that's definitely not true.
Okay, what is a...
Well, let's start with the primer. That's the spark plug in your car. It's the spark plug in ammunition. There are large pistol primers and there are small pistol primers. The Colt cartridge requires a large pistol primer. There are also rifle primers that have the same dimensions, but they're harder and usually have more explosive in them. The same way there are small rifle primers. So you got 4 types. Then they can be plain brass, if that's your pleasure for aesthetics, or nickel plated. And I've seen them both ways. So we got 4 types and 2 finishes. There are even some that are custom for bench rest shooting and other exotic competition, but those are the 4 main. The powders, yet another thing. They're powders that are specifically manufactured for handguns. You've got a big bore and a heavy bullet that's got to be accelerated in a short distance. So those powders have to burn very fast and produce their energy. Rifle powders, if you shoot a 30-30 or a 30-06, you couldn't take the powder that's in one of your rifle cartridges and put it in a pistol cartridge and get it to work. It'd basically fizzle or squib. They burn it. It's like sawdust, sticks, and logs. Powders burn at different rates for shotguns, pistols, and rifles. So there's a lot of thought that's gone into this over the last century and a half of how you make all this come together to not blow up the gun, to achieve the desired pressure and velocity, and of course, produce an accurate shot.
Yes, sir. And so, did you have any evidence when you looked at the live rounds from the rust set that those were hand loads or those were some other type? Did you determine that?
Well, they're in Starline brass, which is sold for hand loaders. But as I said, a commercial manufacturer can buy Starline brass, just as you saw in that one box. The bullets look more amateurish to me. In fact, I have that same bullet with the blue lube, and it's a cast bullet. It doesn't come in cartridges. So I don't have a definitive answer on you. They were virgin cases. That means They hadn't been fired previously and then reloaded. They were shiny inside. So they were first time assembled, and the powder, their physical forms, just as I mentioned, look like a powder called Bullseye, which is probably the oldest pistol powder around. It's very popular. I use it myself. It's normally associated with hand loaders, but it doesn't stop the industry from buying a ton of it and loading a few million rounds.
Okay, sir. So you didn't make a definitive determination, but those rounds appeared amateurish, which would be more like a hand load. Is that fair?
Yes, that has kind of a demeaning character to it. I pride myself on my hand loads, and they looked fine, but they'd already been disassembled, so I didn't get to see the quality of the crimp, and just where the crimp was made, that's where you hold the bullet in the cartridge case. I wished I'd seen them before they were disassembled.
Disassembled. So, but when you looked at it, it did appear. I'm just trying to establish. It did appear more likely to be a hand load.
Yes.
Okay. And if we could have. Gunner, if I may approach the witness.
Are you gonna mark that?
This is State's Exhibit 110. This
All
has
right.
already been.
No objections.
Yes.
Okay. It's already been admitted into evidence? Oh, yeah, if we can put. Okay, I'm gonna do my best with this, Mr. Haig. I hope you can see this.
Yes, I can.
Okay, do you see, this is State's Exhibit 110 that's been introduced. Have you ever seen this photo?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get that. So, Mr. Haig, on the right, that you're looking at right now, I have it under it. What is that type of powder?
It's a pistol powder. In my opinion, it's one called Trail Boss. That's a brand name designed for cowboy action loads in handgun, centerfire handgun cartridges. And its characteristic shape, as I say, it looks like little donuts or tires if you magnify it. And it's a dull gray. It's also what's called a single base powder. So I use it myself. It's an old friend. It works well.
Okay, sir, and now I'm gonna move this over, and I'm gonna show you this other type of powder. And what do you call that type of powder?
Of the many physical forms, it's called disc flake. That's with a hyphen, disc flake. It's little flakes in the sharp shape of discs, like little gray hockey pucks under the microscope. And without a scale, I couldn't compare that any further to, say, Bullseye or some of the other disc flake powders.
Okay, and now I'm gonna try to zoom in here. Do you see in the middle of the ones you just described, you see that donut-looking shape? Right in the middle.
I see it. I don't see it as a powder particle. It's something in the holding device.
And by holding device, what do you mean by that?
I don't know. I didn't have benefit of having this in my hand to actually empty it out, as I recall. So I don't know what it is. It's not powder. That's all.
You don't think it's powder?
I'm convinced it is not a propellant or powder.
Okay, but you don't recall that particular thing when you looked at it, or when you had it, or what did you just say? I didn't understand.
If I looked at it, I was again firsthand. I was again interested in the propellant as to whether I could identify it on the basis of morphology, and I didn't get anywhere beyond it's a disc flake powder popularly used in pistol cartridges, handgun cartridges.
Okay, so as part of your work in this case, did you ever see the photographs from PDQ Props from Seth Kenny's business?
I know I saw a number of photographs after a production of materials there, search warrant I suppose you'd call it, and a lot of the ammunition, plus the FBI did a lot of x-ray images of cartridges from that facility.
Did you remember the way that place looked in terms of its organization or disorganization?
Only vaguely.
Okay. All right, and we may show you some pictures of that, but you never went there personally.
I have not been there.
Okay. And you've had no contact with Seth Kinney yourself.
That's also correct. I don't know the man and have not met him.
Okay. Did you, with regard to the rounds on set, did you measure or inspect all of the rounds? For example, there's been 250 dummy rounds. Did you go through all of those?
Over a period of 5 days, yes.
Okay. And did you go through all of the live rounds, you said?
Yes, definitely. Looked at the all disassembled, but 5 rounds.
Okay. And other than what you told us, anything else about those live rounds? You did tell us the blue loop. Any other matters that you investigated that you determined about those?
Well, I probably said earlier this morning, those are hard to cast, meaning the lead has been hardened. It's not dead soft lead like you get out of an X-ray machine. Cast bullets, there's another way you can make bullets that the manufacturers do, but casting with a mold, bullet mold. And yes, I now must recall the propellant in the disassembled live rounds looked like the powder I mentioned, bullseye. And I didn't see that in other sources in this case.
Now, sir, can you tell a jury what a light strike misfire is, if that term's familiar to you?
Yes, I'd usually separate the terms, but let's just start with a misfire is a cartridge fails to fire for some reason. A light strike could be one of those reasons. That means the hammer didn't fall its full distance, or it was retarded by something. It was going to fall, but something got caught up in it. Or the example I gave earlier, and I did it with the actual evidence gun, pull the hammer back with real ammunition, pull the hammer back to the quarter cock, that little distance where the safety would set, but I had the trigger depressed, and then let the hammer fall. That would make it'd be actually hard to see, a little tick mark, T-I-C-K, a little tick mark in the primer, but it wouldn't fire it.
And observing that after that happened, if you observed that round and you could see that little strike in the primer, is it true that round could still go off the next hit?
Yes, if it didn't fire and a primer had a tick mark, one of these little light indentations in it, and you put it back in the firearm and drew the hammer all the way back, it's going to fire.
And sir, one other area on you mentioned that the gun barrel, the Baldwin revolver, it was dirty.
Well, it had to be dirty when the evidence bullet went down the barrel.
Okay. And let me just ask you, does it take some time for an individual to properly clean a gun that's been firing black powder?
Whether black powder, I saw no evidence black powder was used in this case, but I know what you mean. There's a substitute called 777, which acts like black powder. They both leave a lot of residue in the gun barrel, and it can be difficult to get out, especially if you don't know what you're doing, because it's largely water soluble, and modern powders like you just showed me in the picture are not water soluble. So you need to know, okay, this is 777 or black gunpowder, and I've got to get this stuff out. You're going to have to scrub it out with hot soapy water is the best way, and then dry the gun barrel out.
Okay, sir, and I appreciate that. I know you operate a business. Were you paid or compensated in this case for your work?
For my time, of course.
Yes, sir. And how much have you been compensated?
Well, my wife handles the bookkeeping, so I don't know for sure, but there's been quite a few hours. As I said, 5 days just looking at all this evidence alone. Then another when I came over here in July to look at the clothing, and then in August for the videos you saw. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8 or so days.
And what's your hourly rate?
$350 per hour.
Okay. Okay, and I thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Redirect.
Mr. Haig, did you look at all of the disassembled live rounds from the set of Rust?
Yes.
Did any of the primers on those live rounds have those tick marks?
No.
And just to be clear, when we were looking at photos earlier, the photo of the ammunition that came from PDQ Props, you described that bullet as a semi-wad cutter.
Yes.
Okay. And can you definitively say that the live rounds from the set of Rust were kind of homemade sort of reloads as opposed to the HSM brand that we looked at on the photos that you and your son purchased?
Yeah, I wouldn't demean that ammunition to that degree. There's just it's subtle, but if you shoot all the time and load ammunition, I recognize them as, in all likelihood, hand loads. I wouldn't describe them as shoddy or poorly made, or sometimes I'll see dents in cartridge cases and the bullet's been improperly seated. So nothing wrong with them. They look like perfectly suitable hand loads. I've seen prettier. I've sure seen a lot worse.
Are you, I just want to be clear, are you testifying to the jury that you don't believe that those rounds that were found on the set would have come from a small manufacturer like HSM?
I can't rule it out, but the ammunition I've purchased in .45 Colt from various manufacturers, and those that my younger son Mike has purchased, have a higher quality. The bullets are slicker, shinier.
Okay. And you were asked some questions on cross-examination about gun safety and Mr. Baldwin having his finger in the trigger guard of that gun. You recall those questions?
I do.
Based on your review of the evidence in this case, is it your understanding that Mr. Baldwin was told that the gun was cold or inert before he put his finger in the trigger guard?
Yes, it's my understanding from reading the documents, the cold gun was given, meaning there's a gun on the set, but there's nothing in it that's going to fire. No blanks or, of course, live rounds.
And the dummies in this case that rattled, you examined some of those, didn't you?
Yes, I did, a number of them.
Do you mind my asking, sir, how old you are?
83.
And, sir, with your 83-year-old ears, were you able to clearly hear the rattle?
Not always.
Not always.
Especially in my right ear.
Okay.
And
Do you
I had
think
to do it
do you think that's an issue with your hearing?
I thought it was subtle even when I listened with my good ear, my left ear.
The rattle was subtle.
Yes.
So in order to hear that rattle, you have to listen pretty closely, right?
Yes, and it gets more complicated. Some of them had one pellet in them, others had 2 or 3. So now you've got the advantage, if you happen to pull one that's got 3 in it, better opportunity to hear it rattle.
Okay. Sir, are you familiar with the term Inertia bullet puller?
Sure.
Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, it's a very simple device. It looks a little bit like a hammer, only it's clear plastic. It's got a cap, and you put usually a live cartridge, or maybe one that's failed to fire. Anyway, it's a cartridge. It's got a bullet, cartridge case, primer. Put it in this device, and you hit it on a hard surface. Good old Isaac Newton works out for us. The hammer stops, and the heavy bullet keeps on going. Now, it may take 3 or 4 hits, but you separate the bullet from the cartridge in a non-destructive way, so you get the bullet, you get all the powder, and you get a cartridge case. It's pretty routine if we want to know what's this ammunition loaded with, how much powder, what kind of bullet, because we can't see all the bullet when it's in the cartridge case. So it's a common tool. I think I have 2 or 3 of them.
So the inertia puller is a device that is designed to disassemble live ammunition. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you, sir. You're excused. Next witness.
We will call Corporal Alex Hancock.
Where's the deputy? Can you get this? Just a minute. Let's get this off. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Stand before the judge. Raise your right hand.
Do you swear affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you'll give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Have a seat.
Hancock, go ahead and state your name for the record.
Alexandria Hancock.
How are you currently employed?
I am currently a corporal with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been employed at the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office?
A little over 6 years now.
And have you only worked at the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
Okay. On October 21st, 2021, what was your position with the department?
So on October 21st, 2021, I was a detective in the Criminal Investigations Division, and I was assigned to the Violent Crimes Division.
And how did you become involved in this case?
I became involved in the Rust case. We were working that day and in the office, and got notified that there was a shooting on a movie set.
And when you received that information, what did you do?
So we met essentially as a team in investigations, and at that point we had essentially split up assignments. We do this with any sort of major case like a homicide, shooting, stabbing, anything like that. So we'll meet with the supervisors and then the entire team, and then at that point we'll divvy up essentially who's going to do what at that time.
Tell us how you divvied things up.
So at the initial point of this case, there was actually another detective that was assigned the primary, and I was assigned as secondary. So what that means is that the primary is pretty much the head of the investigation. They're essentially in charge of what's going to happen, and then they divvy up responsibilities for the rest of the team from there.
And who was that person who was originally assigned primary?
His name is Joel Cano.
And is he a colleague of yours?
Yes, yes.
And at some point, was that designation changed, and were you assigned primary?
Yes, about 2 weeks later.
On October 21st, just so that we understand who was doing what, can you give us the names of the people that you yourself interviewed on the 21st of October?
Yeah, so the day of the incident, I was assigned to take some individuals back to the sheriff's office to be interviewed. Those individuals involved Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who is here in the courtroom today, David Halls, and Alec Baldwin.
And those are the three people who ultimately were criminally charged in this case, correct?
That is correct.
Would you agree with me that you did basically the primary interviews on October 21st?
Yes.
And so while you were interviewing kind of the main players on October 21st, what was Detective Cano doing?
So Detective Cano had stayed at the ranch, so at the Bonanza Creek Ranch, and it was my understanding that there were additional people who were inside of the church at the time that the incident happened that he had interviewed and had assistance from another detective. So essentially they stayed on scene and used a like a movie trailer or whatever was designated towards them to interview all those other people.
And why were you guys interviewing people at the same time? You in one location, him in another location?
Because of the amount of people that we had to interview, and at the sheriff's office we only have one interview room.
Now, you were present in the courtroom when Officer LaFleur and Mr. Benavides testified. Do you recall that?
Yes.
What's your opinion with regard to their sentiments that this was a difficult scene because of the number of people?
Yeah, I would say it produced a pretty big problem for the sheriff's office just because of the fact that there were so many people on this movie scene, hundreds of people, and there were so few of us at the time.
Now, in addition to interviewing Mr. Baldwin, Ms. Gutierrez, and Mr. Halls on October 21st, 2021, did you also conduct a subsequent interview with Ms. Gutierrez?
Yes, I did.
And was her attorney, Mr. Bowles, present for that interview?
Yes, he was.
And did you have numerous subsequent telephone conversations with Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, quite a few.
At any point in time after October 21st, did you conduct an interview of a witness by the name of Sarah Zachary?
Yes, I did handle her initial interview was with Detective Cano, and then I had a follow-up interview with her sometime in November with her attorney.
And did you also conduct an interview with an actor by the name of Jensen Ackles?
Yes, I did.
Did you conduct an interview with the witness that we heard from earlier, Catherine Rowe Walters?
Yes.
And did you interview a gentleman by the name of Zach Sills?
Yes.
Did you interview a gentleman by the name of Seth Kinney?
Numerous times.
And when you say numerous times, how many times do you think you spoke to Mr. Kinney?
Over 5.
And did you interview a gentleman by the name of Thel Reed?
Yes, I did.
Let's start with Mr. Reed. How did you come to conduct an interview? And just to be clear, I think it was telephonic. Is that right?
Yes, it was.
How did you come to conduct an interview with Mr. Reed?
So my initial, I guess the way that I had originally heard about Mr. Thel Reed was that he was Hannah's father, and Jason Bowles, Hannah's attorney, had actually brought him up after the second interview that I had conducted with Hannah, essentially saying that Thel wanted to provide a statement as to where the live ammunition may have come from on set. Jason had emailed me
When you say Jason, you mean Jason Bowles?
Yes, Jason Bowles. Had emailed me a typed out statement, and at the bottom of this statement, it had Thel's name on it. At that time, I had advised to Jason that that would not be a sufficient statement for me because I hadn't conducted the interview myself, and that essentially a word typed statement, not signed, not really identified from anybody, would not be sufficient for me. So I had discussed with Mr. Jason Bowles that if Thel wanted to provide an actual statement to me, that we needed to set up an interview.
And did he do that?
Yes, he did the following day.
And did you interview him?
Yes.
Was that prior to asking the court to authorize a search warrant on PDQ Props?
Yeah, it was about a week before.
And under what circumstances did you become aware of Seth Kinney in a manner that caused you to start to have to interview him and interact with him?
So from the beginning of the investigation, my first interactions with Seth Kinney came from the search warrant that we had done on the prop truck, which was on the set of Rust. I had essentially told Seth, or had communications with him, that I was going to need to get inside the safe on the prop truck, which is where we were told that they had stored guns. And instead of breaking open this safe, we had asked for someone to come to set with the code for the safe in order to open it, so we didn't have to do all that extra work. So my first interaction in person with Seth Kinney was during the prop truck search warrant.
hang on just a second. So Mr. Kinney showed up and opened the safe for you.
Yes, he did.
And on that day that you were doing the search of the prop truck, do you recall what date it was?
It was October 27th, 2021.
And did Mr. Kinney kind of hang around there outside the prop truck and you were able to visit with him?
Yes.
Was Mr. Kinney cooperative with you?
Yeah, he was extremely cooperative.
Did Mr. Kinney bring you samples of live ammunition from PDQ Props?
Yes, he did.
And did Mr. Kinney provide you access to text messages on his cell phone?
Yes, several times.
Did he provide you access to information on his tablet?
Yes.
What was the reason, or reasons rather, that you determined that conducting a search of PDQ Props would be appropriate?
So throughout the investigation, we obviously had the unanswered question of where this live ammunition may have come from. During Hannah's secondary interview with me, I found that ammunition that was supplied to Rust actually came from 3 different sources. One of those sources...
And let's back up real quick before you get there. The interview that you did with Ms. Gutierrez on October 21st, 2021, did you have a conversation with her about who provided ammunition to the set?
Yes.
And who did she say provided ammunition?
Seth Kenny.
And then you conducted a follow-up interview with her in November.
Yes.
And that was when Mr. Bowles was there.
Correct.
And that's what you were going to start telling us about, right?
Yes.
Go ahead, proceed.
So in that secondary interview, Hannah had disclosed that there were actually 3 sources of ammunition that went onto the set of Rust. One of them, her original, being Seth Kenny from PDQ Arm and Prop. The second supplier was an individual named Billy Ray, and he was part of the business Spots and Props, I believe it is what it was. And then the third source of ammunition for Rust was herself.
How many boxes of dummy ammunition did Ms. Gutierrez tell you that she herself provided to the set of Rust?
So 1, and then she had stated that she had brought other dummies and ammunition in gun belts.
Okay, so I think what we were discussing is what went into your thought process that caused you to decide that executing a search warrant on PDQ Props would be appropriate.
Yeah, so during Hannah's secondary interview, it was identified at that point the actual physical location of PDQ, which was in Albuquerque, the 126 Monroe. And then subsequently after that, when I had gotten the statement from Thel had described that him and Seth Kenny had been training actors on another movie prior to this in another state, that they had used live ammunition. And so Thel had said that ammunition somehow came back to New Mexico and then, potentially gone back to PDQ, which is the reason that I used, along with Seth Kenny providing the fact that he did have live ammunition and use live ammunition on that set, to draft that search warrant for PDQ.
Did you also have numerous conversations with Mr. Bowles?
Yes.
And were some of the statements that Mr. Bowles made also things that went into your decision to execute a search warrant there?
Yes.
What was the information you received from Mr. Bowles that caused you to turn your attention to Seth Kenny?
So from the beginning of this investigation, Mr. Bowles had made statements that he believed that there was sabotage on the set, although none of the individuals that I had interviewed shared the same sentiments. So none of the people that I had interviewed thought that this could be sabotage or, that someone did this intentionally to Hannah. And so given the fact that Mr. Bowles had continuously told me about, Seth Kenny and the fact that he may have supplied the live ammunition and that he was a supplier of ammunition is why we decided to take that path into investigating him.
Now, the interview that you conducted with Mr. Reed that went into your decision to apply for a search warrant, did Mr. Reed actually tell you specifically the kind of rounds that he recalled being on the set of 1883 that would now be in the possession of Seth Kinney?
Yeah, he described the live ammunition to have a semi-wad cutter top.
All right. Corporal, were you present in the courtroom for opening statements?
Yes.
Did you investigate Seth Kinney?
Yes, we did.
And based on Mr. Bowles' communications with you and other information, you actually applied for a search warrant and you conducted a search of PDQ Props, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you spoke to Mr. Kinney numerous times, I think you testified to.
Many, many times.
And he was completely cooperative with you?
Yes, for over a year, I believe.
And sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, we had numerous conversations for an extended period of time.
Is there any particular reason that you didn't ask him for a DNA swab or a fingerprint sample?
Yes, so during my investigation and the interviews I conducted, there was never any testimony or reason to believe that Seth was ever on the set of Rust. Anything that was handled through him or any of the ammunition or anything that had been brought to set had been picked up by another person in Albuquerque, or they had met outside of the set.
And just to be clear, Corporal, the live ammunition that you seized from PDQ Props, what did you do with it?
We submitted all the live ammunition for testing with the FBI.
And did you receive information that the live ammunition from PDQ didn't match the live ammunition on the set of Rust?
That's correct. It didn't match at all.
And isn't that in line with what Thel Reed himself told you about that ammunition being semi-wad cutter?
Yeah, so the statement that Thel had made about the type of ammunition that they were using matched what we found and what was provided by Seth Kenny.
So you found at PDQ exactly what Thel Reed told you you should find?
Yes,
And it did not match the live rounds on set?
that's correct.
Let's talk about the cell phone extractions that were done in this case. And let's go back to October 21st when we're on the set of Rust. Do you know why cell phones from every witness on the set weren't collected?
There was, obviously a lot of people that we were dealing with, and it's not standard practice, especially when we are still investigating, to just go and take people's possessions from them.
If I'm a witness to a crime, Do you just get to come seize my cell phone?
No.
Do you get to put me in handcuffs?
No.
Do you get to put me in the back of a patrol unit?
No.
In fact, there was an extraction of Ms. Gutierrez's cell phone, correct?
That's correct.
And you didn't have to ask for a warrant, she consented to that.
She did consent.
And was there an extraction done of Mr. Baldwin's phone?
Yes.
And where was that done?
Suffolk PD in New York completed it.
And did Mr. Baldwin do that voluntarily, or did you have to execute a warrant?
So I had initially applied for a warrant for his phone, and it was approved here in New Mexico, but he was located in New York at the time. And so we ended up, actually the DA's office and Mr. Baldwin's attorneys ended up essentially getting his phone and doing his phone on consent as well.
Was a cell phone extraction done of the cell phone of Mr. Halls?
Yes, it was.
And did you have to get a warrant, or did Mr. Halls consent?
He consented.
Same thing with Ms. Zachary. Was there an extraction of her phone?
Yes.
Did she consent?
Yes, she did.
And Mr. Kinney shared with you the information from his phone that you asked for?
Yes, numerous times.
Is there a reason that the prop truck wasn't searched until October 27th?
Yes, so with the initial information that we had been given and that we responded to the day of the incident, the entire incident in itself had occurred inside the church. So that was our, primary area that we were going to be investigating and processing and looking into, because that's where the incident occurred. Additional information that we had received was obviously involving the prop cart that Hannah and the props team was using, and that's why we, processed that prop cart as well. We didn't have information until later on that this prop truck had been involved in the props department and that we would potentially need to be looking for evidence there, which is why we didn't conduct that search until a few days later.
And Corporal, why wasn't the search of PDQ Props done until the end of November?
Because the information that I had started receiving in terms of PDQ didn't come until, I believe it was November 9th. The statement that I was given from Thel, or my interview with Thel Reed, was November 17th. We had also received some evidence back from OMI November 22nd, and then I had another interview with Sarah, her secondary interview, on November 29th. So this is all stuff that I'm involved in and I'm conducting and doing myself. So November 30th was essentially the first day that I had available to do that search warrant, and I requested the search warrant that morning and got it done that afternoon.
Do criminal investigations involving 100 witnesses sometimes take time?
Absolutely, even ones that don't involve that many people.
Can you explain to the jury why latent fingerprint testing was not requested on the live rounds found on the set of Rust?
Yeah, absolutely. So during my interviews with, all the people that I initially interviewed, there was statements from them that the gun that Alec Baldwin was using was taken from the church, that Dave Halls had taken it from the church, that he had handed that gun to Miss Reed, directed Miss Reed to essentially empty all the bullets from that gun. So in doing so, with Miss Reed emptying the bullets and examining them at that time, I know she touched them. I know her DNA or potentially her prints are going to be on those bullets. So it didn't make sense for us to DNA or latent test that round because I know who touched it, and she wasn't the only one that touched it after that. In addition to that, the other live rounds that were found in, gun belts, the box or the ammo box, and the carts had all been handled by several people during this movie set, especially after the shooting. I had gotten statements that they had been handled by several different people. And not only that, but the gun belts that contained the live ammunition were said to have come from another set. And so for us, and in speaking with the DA's office, as well as the FBI, our representative from the FBI, it didn't make sense. It would be a test that just wouldn't yield anything that we were looking for.
And why wasn't DNA testing requested on the live rounds or the spent casing?
The spent from the gun?
From the set, yes. I'm sorry, the spent casing from the gun or the live rounds from the set of Rust. My apologies.
I'm sorry, you're saying why wasn't it
Why
requested?
wasn't DNA testing requested?
Okay. Essentially for the same reason, because of because of all the various people that had claimed to handle these rounds.
And did you also hear in previous testimony about FBI policies?
Yes.
And were you notified of those policies during the course of your investigation?
Yes, I was.
So if you had requested it, they would have refused?
Correct. And we did have that discussion with our FBI representative who was assigned to the case here in Santa Fe.
Now, we understand from previous testimony that you sent the gun that was being used by Mr. Baldwin to the FBI for testing. Is that correct?
Yes, we did.
And prior to the testing being done with the mallet, were you notified that that testing could potentially result in damage to the gun?
Yes.
And what was the reason that you proceeded with the testing anyway?
We proceeded with the testing because Mr. Baldwin had made statements that he didn't pull the trigger, and I think his exact statement was that the gun just went off. So we needed to figure out how to disprove that theory or that statement, and that was the way that was proposed to us and what the FBI could do.
On October, I'm going to go through and I'm going to play some videos of your statements with Ms. Gutierrez at this time. And on October 21st, 2021, did you have a conversation with Ms. Gutierrez when she was still on set before she was taken to the police station?
Yeah, we had some brief discussion.
Okay. And Your Honor, if it's acceptable, some of these videos, the first one isn't that long, but some of these videos are rather lengthy, and so I'd like to play them from counsel's table
Sure.
instead of standing.
Okay. How long are they?
The first one I think is about 8 minutes. The second one, off the top of my head, I want to say is about an hour, and the last one is between 2 and 3 hours.
All right, we'll probably take a break after the second one, the one that's an hour, okay?
point of clarification for the court and also for the jury. Some of these videos are at times redacted if there's downtime or something like that. So if you see a skip, that's why.
Okay, so it's coming into evidence.
Yes, and the first one that I intend to play is State's Exhibit 66. I would ask to admit it and publish it.
Mr. Bowles.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State 66 is admitted. You may publish.
Yeah, where's the restroom?
I think so. Here, she knows where it's at.
Just gonna back up.
Ask your site, she needs to use the restroom, and she doesn't want to go alone. Will you escort her?
Yeah, where's the restroom?
I think so. Here, she knows where it's at.
Okay.
Get that out of the way if you would. Corporal, does this microphone work? Okay. The acoustics are much different from this position. Corporal, who was that gentleman you were speaking to?
That was my sergeant at the time, Christopher Zook.
That's the same gentleman that testified earlier in this trial?
Yes.
And what are you being asked to do?
I was advised that Hannah needed to use the restroom and that she wanted somebody to accompany her.
After her? Yeah. Hi there. You said you needed to use the restroom? Yeah. Okay, I can go with you.
Do you have your bag and everything?
I don't know. I think it got taken. She's not. She'll just come right back here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just taking her to use the restroom and that's it. Let me just close this. Okay, where are they?
Do I have to do this here? Can you guys just have me leave?
Well, yeah, so we're gonna take you. Do you want to wait to go to the office or?
Is it gonna be a while?
I'm not sure how much longer. I'd say not too much longer, but I can't tell you a
Just
time.
walk me.
Okay.
And Corporal, I couldn't hear what Ms. Gutierrez said to you at the beginning that prompted this discussion about going back to the office. Do you recall?
No, I don't.
Okay, no problem.
Welcome to the worst day of my life.
Hey, things happen.
Yeah,
Where's your restrooms here?
they're right over here.
Okay.
I can't believe Alec Baldwin was holding the gun. That's so fucked. Can't believe it. Oh, fuck.
That's all right. Just.
Can the members of the jury hear what Ms. Gutierrez is saying in the video? Okay, just checking.
No, he said no. One person said no.
I didn't understand. It's kind of.
Okay. Corporal, could you hear what Ms. Gutierrez was saying in the video?
Yes.
Can you, did we just turn it up?
I can't do it.
Okay. I'll take it back just a short bit and we'll see if that works. Thank you, George.
Okay.
I can't believe Alec Baldwin was holding the gun. That's so fucked.
What did Ms. Gutierrez say to you?
Her statement was, "I can't believe Alec Baldwin was holding the gun. That's so fucked."
And just to be clear, at this point in time, where's Ms. Hutchins?
I believe she's still in the care flight, the helicopter.
And You saw the previous videos, the video from Mr. Benavides. Do you recall seeing that?
Yes.
Okay. And in that video, did Ms. Gutierrez learn that Ms. Hutchins was critical but stable?
Yes.
That's all right. Just take a deep breath and we'll work this all out, okay? I think that one's open.
Do you need to come with me? Or?
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand facing opposite, okay?
And Corporal, why do you need to escort Ms. Gutierrez to the restroom?
She had actually asked to be escorted by law enforcement, which is why I was with her. We take it as a precaution to accompany people into the restroom, just to, I guess, ensure that they don't harm themselves, that they're not trying to hide evidence, such things like that.
You guys have a lot of people out here.
Yeah. Is there like a closer cop car you guys can put me in or something?
I mean, the closest one that I can put you in is one of the ones that's like the unmarked one.
I just kind of wish that any of my coworkers could stop seeing me because I already feel super bad.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, hold on just 1 second.
I can even throw you in mine. I have an unmarked one.
Is it close?
It's like right. We walked through them.
Okay, cool.
So.
Yeah, I don't want to go back.
Okay.
I just want to get the fuck out of here and never show my face in this industry ever again.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, I would.
How long have you been working here?
Nah, just a month.
Just a month?
Yeah. I've just been doing this job for like 9 months now.
Okay. How old are you?
24. I'm like the only female armorer in the game and I just fucked up my whole entire career.
Have you studied armory, or did you go to classes, or how did you get into it?
My dad's one of the best armorers in the entire world, and he trained me, and I'm a fucking failure.
Let's hit it. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's these cars. Mine's actually the silver car over here.
Okay, my little fanny pack is right in front of that cop car on that thing, if you could bring it.
Okay.
Possibly.
What's in it?
Just my keys. My stuff, my ID.
Okay. Yeah, let me just figure out. Let me sit you in
Or
here.
you can just leave it, honestly. Yeah, my inhaler is in it.
Okay, do you need that?
My inhaler might be in the back of the cop car.
You know what? Let me... Sorry, we have so much gear. I'm not sure. Do you want a Gatorade? It's not opened. It's been...
I'm alright.
Okay. So, I'll leave that there if you want it, okay? Do you want... Oh, you can control the window. Joe! I have to hang out with you here though, okay? Since my vehicle is... So, she doesn't want to be up in the cop car until they figure out transportation. Will you just let them know that I have her in here? She doesn't want to be...
Look, this is the armor?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're just gonna hang out with it here?
Yeah.
For now?
Until they figure out what they want to do. But
Gutierrez?
yes.
Okay. So she wants to be transported over there
Yeah, she
Not
wants.
in a police car.
Right. Exactly, and she just doesn't want to be.
Stuck sitting in one.
Well, she doesn't want everybody to see her right now,
Yeah.
so I have her back here. Okay. Are you from New Mexico?
I'm out of state. From Arizona.
From Arizona, what part?
Walnut City, Arizona.
I actually don't think I know where that is. Let me know how the temperature is, okay? You can do whatever you need. Have you called your parents or anything yet?
Called my dad. Told him what a fucking dumbass I am. Can I call my mom?
Yeah, go ahead. Whoever you need to call.
Hi.
Do you know what's going on? Me and you are gonna go to the office. Okay.
It's her, interviewed her, then they're gonna transport Revolver, and then we'll interview him after.
We're
So, Corporal, at Ms. Gutierrez's request, did you take her to the restroom?
Yes.
And at her request, did you permit her to sit in your patrol unit?
Yes.
Did you turn your patrol unit on so that she could be in a comfortable temperature?
Yes.
Did you allow her full use of her cell phone?
Yes, I did.
So just to be clear, Ms. Gutierrez's phone wasn't taken either, was it?
No, it wasn't.
And then later that day, did you do another interview with Ms. Gutierrez at the police station?
Yes.
We're gonna enter it into evidence.
Yes. We would move into evidence States Exhibit 67 and ask for permission to publish.
No objection.
All right, state 67 is admitted, you may publish.
Started. Like good.
Uh-oh, hang on.
Before we get started, you're here for an interview, and that's what we're doing right now. Okay, it's just interviewing what happened.
Can everybody hear that? Okay, if you can't, raise your hand.
He said,
A little bit, okay. Let me try to, if I turn it up here, will it go up over there? Okay, let's try that, see if I can fine tune it a little bit.
Okay. Anytime we interview somebody, especially when we do it here at the office.
George, can you just bump it up another notch and let's see how that works, if you don't mind, sir?
Just so.
Let's leave it there.
Okay, cool. So we have here, we use forms. That's just what she had here, but I guess she went to go get them. So we're just going to get you those.
And Corporal, where did you go?
I went to go get a form which essentially has Miranda rights on them.
And who's this lady in the room?
This was the, so her name is Samantha Talamonte. She was a detective that I was interviewing with on that day.
And does she still work at the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office?
Yeah, she's a corporal as well right now.
Thank you.
Go over them and sign it, just formality we have to do, okay? Do you know if anyone ever got that fanny pack? So right now it's technically inside the scene, so we can't quite grab it yet. Okay, cool. But you said it's black and gray? No, it's just the gray one. Just gray, okay. And it was on the cart? Yeah. Yes, so it'll be
It'll be secured, and if it's not part of it, we'll get it back to you as soon as we can. So like I said, this is the rights that I just need to go over, and I'll read them to you as I do. If you understand them, you can signature or check out here, and then read the rest here, and if you agree, okay? So you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in a court of law or other proceedings. You have the right to consult an attorney before making any statements or answering any questions. And you may have him or her present with you during questioning. You may have an attorney appointed to you to represent you if you cannot afford one, otherwise obtain one. Okay. You understand those? And if you wish to
I kind of would like an attorney.
You kind of like, what do you want to do?
I mean, just because the situation and everything, and their attorney already talked to me, and I just think I should probably have an attorney represent me.
Okay, before you make any statements or talk to us.
Do you know what attorney she's referring to?
There was an attorney that was at the ranch, but I don't know her name.
Okay.
Well, I can probably answer a few questions.
So at any time, so I'm gonna, again, you don't have to talk to us. And if you want to talk to your attorney, that's fine. If you want to answer some questions, you still could change your mind during this questioning. So it's up to you. If you want to talk to us and at some point you feel like maybe you want your attorney, you can. But you need to make the decision on what you want to do right now. If you want to talk to us.
How long would it take when to get here, I guess?
It's going to be you calling them and finding out.
Really? Okay. I don't know, their fucking attorney, I don't know. It's just like such a big company, you know.
Are you talking about with the production company?
Yeah. I don't want anything in this case to be fucked up for me as much as I possibly can.
So, no, you're fine. And that's why we go through these.
Yeah.
So you know your rights.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Is there an attorney I can call?
It would be a public defender. They might not. They might advise another day. It could go a longer process. I don't know.
Alright. I can answer some basic questions.
If you want to answer some basic questions, we could do that. And then if you at some point feel like it's
right on, yeah.
And like I said, right now we are just interviewing you because you were there. You were there. You
totally
are in charge of the armor.
Okay.
So you're okay with talking with us?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we'll start off with basic questions, okay? So you've already mentioned that you've been on set for 5 months now? On this particular set?
No, on this particular set I've only been there 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, do you want the date and time?
Oh, yeah, please.
Sure. It's going to be 21.
I'm so sorry. How do you spell your first name? Hannah, H-A-N-N-A-H.
And your last name?
Gutierrez, G-U-T-I-E-R-R-E-Z.
When's your date of birth?
April 28, 1997.
April 28, 97?
Yeah.
And how old are you?
24.
I just want you to be comfortable when you're talking with us, okay? So this set, you've been here for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And this is, your primary job is handling the armor?
Yeah.
Can you go into detail about what you do?
I'm supposed to check the guns, and I load the guns, and I hand the guns off to the actor.
Okay. How long have you been doing this? Because you mentioned you've been on multiple sets.
Since about March, but I've been handling guns my whole life, pretty much.
So you're very familiar with guns. Mm-hmm. And this is your primary function. You go to different sets and you primarily handle these guns.
Yeah.
Okay. So, can you tell us what happened today? When you started work, when you got there to work?
Yeah, I went to work. We got the guns out.
Who's we?
Me, my coworker Sarah, she helps me with the guns a little bit too. Yeah. And we got the guns out, we went to set, we had the guns on set. I dummied the guns up with the dummy rounds. And yeah, we were on set all day, no, nothing happened, and then we came back from lunch and that happened.
Okay. So you got on set with the gun, with the dummy rounds about what time?
Like 7:30 probably.
Around 7:30 this morning?
Yeah, I didn't dummy the gun up until about a little before lunch, like an hour before lunch.
Corporal, could you understand what Ms. Gutierrez said about something about the gun? Did she say dummy the gun up?
Yeah, she had said that she dummied the gun up right before lunch.
Okay.
And we take all the guns and we lock them up for lunch.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. You and Sarah, what's Sarah's last name, do you know?
Sarah's last name, I don't think she really worked with that gun that day, by the way. But Sarah Zachary, Z-A-C-H-R-Y.
Okay.
So just to be clear, did Ms. Gutierrez just tell you that Ms. Zachary didn't really work with the Baldwin gun that day?
That's correct.
But she was there today with you, helping you today, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So you and Sarah, who has access to that? So when you got there this morning, where are the guns kept?
The guns are kept on the prop truck.
On the prop truck? And
yeah, and the dummies and everything kept on the prop truck.
Are the dummy rounds separate, contained than the gun, all in the truck?
Yeah, they're in their own box, and the guns are in the safe.
Okay. And who has access to the safe?
Sarah and I.
Just the two of you?
Yes.
What about the dummy rounds? Who has access to that?
Well, the dummy rounds, they were on the cart for lunch. Yeah, the dummy rounds were on the cart for lunch. All the ammo was on the cart for lunch.
Is there, okay, so you're saying dummy rounds and ammo, are there two separate things?
So there's blanks, my bad, not ammo, but there's blanks, you know, the blanks look different.
Okay.
They shoot the stuff, and the dummies normally just have a little BB in them.
Okay. What is the purpose for the dummy rounds? Because you were loading those up this morning.
So the dummy rounds, they're meant to put in like the belts of the cowboys and everything, and like in the revolver you can see if it's empty or not.
Right.
So yeah, I have to dummy them up if they're gonna be like looking right at the camera.
Oh, okay, so you, just for show, the dummy rounds are just for show to make it look
Just
as
for
full.
show, yeah.
Okay. But then the other rounds that you guys
The other
keep on
rounds,
seeing,
yeah, the other rounds,
BB.
yeah. They don't shoot a BB, no.
Oh.
No, they just shoot, like, they just open up and a little black powder comes out, and that's all. It's just a little black powder, and yeah.
Is there live ammo that's kept on set?
No, never.
Okay.
So,
I hardly even go shooting with 45 ammo at all. I normally just use 22.
okay.
So,
And so you got the guns this morning. You and Sarah are the only ones who have, is it a combination for the safe?
it is, yeah.
Okay, and you guys are the only ones who have that combination?
Mhm.
Okay. But the rounds are...
They're in the truck, yeah. The truck gets pretty much locked up every night. I mean, not like padlocked, but just on set security.
Okay. Or do you guys have lunch? Does a lot of people just eat lunch there?
We all leave and we go back to base camp.
Okay. And you guys left the dummy rounds and the ammo, but it's not real ammo.
My bad, blanks. The blanks. Yeah, we'll go with blanks.
I will use blanks.
Yeah.
Just so I also don't mix up in the confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you got the dummy rounds and the blanks this morning, what were you guys doing before lunch? Was that just
We were just
with the dummies only? Just
the dummies. We were just about to get into the blank stuff, and you know, like part of my job is checking the barrel to make sure nothing's in it, because that's how Brandon Lee died. You know.
Right.
So like that's what I checked for. I definitely checked this morning, and I was planning on checking again right after lunch before we got into all the shits, and I already started checking the other 2 guns to check in the thing for them, and none of them had any barrel obstructions. So yeah.
So you check the gun, but do you check the blanks and the dummies as well?
I do check the dummies. I shook all of them, and they all showed that they were not hot, I guess you could say.
How can you tell the difference on the ammo, on the dummy rounds, or the blanks, I'm sorry. How can you tell the difference from the blanks and live, real ammunition?
A little ring. Like there's a little ring in there. Just rings. It rattles. It's like a little rattle.
When it's a blank?
Yeah, and then also there's ones that I have with holes in the side to show that there's nothing in them.
Okay. So what are these ones? They're the rings?
Yeah, these ones were the rings. There was one, I think, with a hole. Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to visit with you a little bit about Ms. Gutierrez's statements up to this point. Initially, Ms. Gutierrez told you that she shook all the dummy rounds, is that right?
Yes.
And then, upon further questioning, did Ms. Gutierrez tell you that, in fact, one of the rounds actually wouldn't have been a shaker, it had a hole in the side?
Correct, which wouldn't give any sort of audible noise if she shook it.
All right.
And you put the gun before going to lunch back in the safe?
Yes.
But the blanks and dummies were left on the cart?
Yeah.
Did you, when you got back, did they look moved or tampered with or touched when you got back from lunch?
They did not. No, nothing seemed out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Was the gun still in the safe after lunch?
Yeah.
Who pulled it out?
Sarah pulled it out and she handed it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you watched her?
Yeah.
Where I'm trying to get with is because you can handle the gun, you obviously are going to be loading the gun, so that's why I'm concerned about the dummy and the blanks, because those were left out. And is there some way that somebody can alter them to make them still look like your dummy rounds?
Well, so that's the thing, is that like bullets, like real bullets, pretty much look the same as dummies. The only difference is the rattle. And so, yeah, that's a choice, but also, I don't know, I'm kind of wondering, because I heard back in the day, dummies used to have like a primer cap. So I'm wondering if maybe it was one of those older ones or something like that.
Did you load them after lunch?
They were already loaded from before lunch.
Okay.
And so that's the thing, is like, you know, we had that gun the whole time before that, and it was, nothing happened, and I wasn't in there, and they weren't supposed to be even pulling the hammer back.
So, okay, all right, let me just clarify a little bit. So prior to lunch, the guns, you had them out?
Yeah.
And where were they when they were out?
They were inside with all the camera crew and everything. It's, you know, COVID, everything happening right now. They don't really like a lot of people in there.
Okay.
And so usually I'm like hardly allowed in there unless there's actual firing happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you inside this morning?
I walked in there and I handed the gun to Alex a couple of times, and Alex took it, and everyone was there with him.
Alec? Okay.
Baldwin, yeah.
Baldwin? Okay, so you handed him the gun this morning.
Yeah.
Does he pass it off to anybody? Were you able to see that?
At one point, Dave had it, the assistant director, but he was just sitting in with it, and then I saw him and I was like, okay, this is fine, he's just sitting in, and then I walked out, and yeah.
And how do you know that Dave had it?
I handed it off to Dave while he was sitting in for the shot.
Okay. All right, so you guys were the only 3 handlers prior to lunch?
Alec, Dave, me. Dave was after lunch.
Okay.
Dave was after lunch. Yeah, that should have been the only ones. Maybe Sarah possibly, but yeah. Because that's the thing, they chill on our little table, and we're pretty much there all the time.
Okay. And then, so prior to lunch, did they do any scenes or anything of the sort where they were firing the weapon?
No.
Okay.
Nothing before lunch. Yeah, we were just supposed to get into it right after that. Like, literally, that was the last shot before we actually got into blanks.
Okay.
And those blanks were already loaded in before lunch?
No, the blanks are different than dummies. So, yeah, blanks, totally different. They actually have, like, ignition and powder and everything. Dummies, no powder, just for looks.
Just for looks, right.
Yeah.
So I think everything was after lunch then. So after lunch, you get back, and that's when you loaded a dummy round. I mean, the blanks.
No, no blanks were loaded.
No, like
all
dummy today.
Yeah, no blanks were loaded today. I was like getting ready for it. I had my fanny pack like full of like blanks and everything, but.
Okay. So when was the last time you loaded it?
I loaded it with so I loaded it with 5 of the dummy rounds before lunch, and there was one that wouldn't go in. And so when we got back from lunch, I took the like little cleaner guy, I cleaned it out really quick, and I put another dummy in there.
Okay. So there are 5 total in the gun.
Yeah.
Can you describe?
6. There was 6. 5, yeah. When the incident occurred, yeah, there were 6.
Okay. Can you describe the gun?
It's a Colt. It's a long barrel Colt.
It's a long barrel?
Mhm.
And 6 rounds fit in it?
Yeah.
What color?
A bronze?
Is it bronze?
Yeah, they're brass. Yeah, kind of bronze, brassy.
What, caliber?
It's 45.
Okay. And that was the only one that was used today?
No, the other 2 were used too.
Okay. What do those look like?
Those are both 45. I think they're either Colts or U-Birdies. 45, and yeah, the 2 other characters had them.
Okay. And they're revolver looking?
Yeah, they are revolvers.
But the long barrel was the one that was used during the incident, just to be clear.
Yeah, the long barrel one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The other 2 were on the actors, and those were fine.
Okay, those are kind of like for show, pretty much,
Yeah.
for holsters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they took them out and they had them on camera too, and yeah.
Okay. Do you know, what time did you go to lunch?
Maybe about 12:30. Pretty much on the dot.
And then, so after that, Sarah pulled them out.
Yeah.
Did you see her check them, or did she just hand them to you and that's when you checked the rounds?
She just handed us, we all took them, we took them in the bag to the set, so we didn't check them there. They're in little, like, socks, little socks.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do those look like?
Little socks. They look like socks.
All right.
Yeah, they honestly look like socks, yeah.
Okay. And so when you checked it, it was on set or prior to transfer?
Yeah, it was on set. I didn't really check it too much after lunch, because it was already locked up and everything at lunch. But yeah, I checked it and put in that last round and sent it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you had said something about keeping stuff in your fanny pack.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's a little fanny pack. It has a lot of pockets, so it's really cool to like separate, like, you know, the dummies from the blanks, but it's mostly to separate like the blank sizes, because there's quarter loads, there's half loads, and then there's full loads. And I usually don't keep any full loads out there unless I need them, but I usually keep quarter loads and half loads right here. So if it's close up to an actor, we use a quarter load, and if it's farther away from an actor, we go ahead and we use halves.
Okay. And what's the reasoning for that?
Just the halves have more smoke and they look more real.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty much for...
Like if it was a bigger gun, like a rifle or something. Yeah.
So you keep...
Or if it's outdoors, you know. But mostly it's the quarters, just in case they're closer proximity to an actor, you know. Or if it's inside quarters, or if it's around an animal or a child's quarters.
Okay. And then you had said that they're only supposed to pretty much expel dust or smoke, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you inside when the incident occurred?
No, I was right outside by my, my cart.
Okay. How close was it?
About 15, 20 feet from being inside.
Okay. What side of the building was done?
So the building, like the door is facing, I don't know my north and west.
Is it where the cross is?
Is that the main door?
So where our cars were?
Where the door, where they were like coming in and everything. That door, we were like right adjacent to that, to the left.
Okay. Could you see inside at all?
No, not really. No, I couldn't see inside.
What do you remember about?
Basically, I just like, you know, we had a couple of, like we had a popper pop last week. You know, the poppers are for special effects. Like one just went off randomly last week, so I was like, oh, it must be a popper. And like, you know, I checked all of them myself, so I heard like the shot, and Sarah was like, what was that? And I was like, must have been a popper, and I like turned around, and then I heard them say medic emergency, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I like checked in, and I like looked, and I saw Alec on the ground, and I was like, oh, not Alec, Joel, and I was like, what the fuck, was it the gun? And Dave was like, yeah, it was a fucking gun. And so I was like, I walked in and I like tried to see what was happening, or like where the gun was, you know, to secure the weapons on set. And I got yelled at, and I ran out, and Dave brought me the gun, and I opened the gun up, and one of the dummies somehow had been discharged.
And can you kind of explain a little bit more what you mean by that it was discharged?
So if I had a bullet, wait, I have some dummies. So, right, check these out. I wish it had just been one of these. Fuck. But see how these have like the hole?
Okay.
And this one doesn't have a primer, right? And most of them, like, they have like the primers, but the primers aren't like hot. Like, I've never had one with a hot primer before.
Okay.
So that seems pretty weird to me. But so basically, this part, when a bullet shoots, the fire projects it, and this comes out. This little piece right here, this little nipple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so when I had checked the gun, this part, that was gone.
Did you get to see the shell?
I saw the shell, yeah, and it's on the thing.
Did it have one of the? Did it look like this, or was it different?
It didn't have the hole. It didn't have that. So I mean, it had that, and it didn't have the hole. And this was gone. So it was just the shell. So it kind of looked just the cartridge, just the regular like cartridge when it
Without
shot. Yeah.
So these ones are dummy, or because they have the hole.
Yeah.
So that one didn't have a, so it looked like a realistic one when you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about your,
But a lot of
what about your blanks?
What about them?
Do they, what's the difference between a blank and that?
You know, I don't think I could show you, but the blank's very different. And you would absolutely be able to tell the difference just by looking at it. So basically, the end here where this is gone, the projectile is gone in the blanks basically. This is squeezed shut. Like, you know, it's filled with like a little bit of gunpowder, like I said, either quarter, half load, or full load. Filled with a little bit of black powder, and it's opened by the metal part just going, so it just, so nothing flies out of those.
Okay. So this is pretty much what looked like what was in the gun.
This is 100% what was in the gun, except without that.
Okay.
And with the primer, but the primer normally is on there anyways for a lot of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not abnormal.
No, it's not. A lot of them have the primer, so that way you can like see them in the belt and they look real.
Okay.
But a lot of them also have the primer in a hole, and that one didn't have a hole.
All right. So you had said so how did you end up getting the gun after?
I went in there, they yelled at me, I ran out, and I was like, can I see the gun? And they brought me the gun, and I opened it and checked it, and it's the very first one that I like, because, you know, once you shoot it, the next one in a revolver, it'll be that one, and first one I pulled out didn't have that.
Okay. Did you get to see any of the others?
The others all had, yeah, I took them all out. They're on the cart too. They all had rings and they all had holes, and I don't understand why that one did not.
And Corporal, just to be clear, the live rounds that were found on set, none of them rattled, did they?
No, they didn't rattle.
And none of them had holes in the side, did they?
No.
And I'm sorry. Explain again what the ring is.
So imagine if this.
Oh, okay. So just a noise.
So that's what I'm saying. So this one is exactly what it looked like was in there.
Okay. And that one doesn't have any holes.
So that's yeah. Honestly, that box of dummies might have some wonky ones in it, and we got that I think a week ago.
Who ordered them?
Well, we got them from from Seth, our supplier and everything.
Okay.
But Seth borrowed them from someone. I don't know who.
Borrowed the runs that you have?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do you know he borrowed them?
I don't know. That's what Sarah said. And then as soon as Sarah called Seth, I don't know. I don't know if she talked to him or anything about this.
Okay.
You mean today, if she called him today and already talked to him, or when?
I don't.
Corporal, based on your investigation, let me back up. I think that we heard Ms. Gutierrez testify that box of dummies might have had some wonky ones in it. Is that right?
Yes.
And did she also testify that that box was provided about a week earlier by Mr. Kinney?
Yes.
And did you continue to investigate the box and the source of that box of dummies?
Yes.
Based on your investigation, was Ms. Gutierrez's assertion that that box came from Mr. Kinney a week earlier, was that assertion correct?
No, it wasn't.
I know she called him, but I didn't get to hear the police officer told her to stop talking to me.
Okay.
So I don't really know what happened with that. But yeah, so.
Okay. Are you aware of a time or know if something like that can be dysfunctional or?
I mean, overall, these are some weird, what we're dealing with are explosives, there's always like a chance of like, you know, safety to be compromised, and that's the issue, and that's what I'm supposed to watch out for on set, and yeah.
Okay. What did Ms. Gutierrez just say? What she's supposed to watch out for on set?
The ammunition, pretty much.
I'm going to back it up just a few seconds.
Or anything about this.
Okay.
Today, if she called him today and already talked to him, or when?
I know she called him, but I didn't get to hear the police officer told her to stop talking to me.
Okay.
So I don't really know what happened with that. But yeah, so.
Okay. Are you aware of a time or know if something like that can be dysfunctional, or?
I mean, you know, like, overall, these are some weird, like, what we're dealing with are, like, you know, explosives. There's always, like, a chance of, like, you know, safety to be compromised, and that's the issue, and that's what I'm supposed to watch out for on set, and, yeah.
Okay.
But, I've never really I've heard of blanks before with the primer, you know, that's the only time I've ever heard of them, which is why I'm wondering if it was kind of one of the older ones, because that kind of stopped after that whole Brandon Lee situation, but I'm not really sure.
So Seth orders all of your rounds.
Yes.
And is there anybody else that's involved in that?
I couldn't really say.
Okay.
I just get what I get, and I'm told not to bitch a fit. Yeah.
Do you know who the manufacturer is of these?
No.
Do you know what the box looks like?
Yeah, there's the box is on the cart.
Okay.
It says dummy rounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Corporal, did Ms. Gutierrez just tell you where you could find the box of dummy rounds that she was pulling from?
Yeah, she said it was on the cart.
Okay. And is that consistent with what you saw in Mr. Benavidez's video?
In his lapel video, she grabbed them from the cart, however, handed them directly to Lieutenant Benavidez.
Okay, so somewhat consistent.
Yes.
What do you know about that? Just that that's ordered them, or?
no, Seth is, he's head armor for The Walking Dead. Okay. He was on that show for 10 years.
So he's also familiar about getting these.
Yeah, Seth is, he pretty much is teaching me everything, other than my father.
Has anyone ever allowed live ammo on set?
No one.
Okay. What's your guys' protocol for the ammo?
Protocol.
Like, what do you have in place? You know, are you supposed to check them every day? How often?
Basically, like, you know, our protocol for the ammo is, like, you know, I have to know load sizes, I have to know, like, who's in the proximity, if it's a child, if it's a horse. And my protocol really is a lot of checking for barrel obstructions, mostly because that's where a lot of mistakes get made, is, like, just a blank behind something, and a lot of guns get thrown into, like, dropped in rocks, you know, and rocks get into the barrel and fly out and shit. So my shit is mostly just checking the barrel and everything, and then making sure the dummies are dummies. Yeah, and I've never really had any that didn't sound like dummies.
Okay.
When you looked at the gun, when Dave brought it back to you after the incident, did it look like it was the same gun when you handed it to Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I would be able to tell too by there's like markings on the bottom of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what those markings are?
They're kind of like little fingernail marks, but like a little more dented.
Okay. Okay, so how many guns were pulled out after lunch?
Like 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause Miller has 2. Ooh, maybe, okay, wait. Miller has 2, the 2 officers have 2, and then Rust has 1, and then there's 3 long guns out, so.
Okay, sorry. Miller has 2, the officers have 2.
Yeah.
Who else?
Rust has 1. That was the one that was discharged. And, yeah. That, and then we had 3 long guns that were on the cart. A shotgun and a rifle. 2 shotguns and a rifle.
And you're in charge of watching all of these?
Yeah.
2, 4, hold on, 3, 8, okay. And you said Rust?
Yes, Rust is the character. He's Alec Baldwin.
Okay. And you handed it directly to him? Or did you hand it to Dave?
I handed it to Dave after lunch.
So then Dave gave it to...
Yeah.
Do you know...
Alec was in there.
Do you know who all was inside the building during the incident?
Some new camera people we got. Our camera crew just quit last night.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole fucking crew, except for like 1 dude that stayed. Yeah, and then the DP, the director.
Do you know anybody's name?
Halyna is the DP, she got shot. The director is Joel, he got shot.
I'm sorry, so DP?
Director of photography.
Okay. And that was Halyna?
Mm-hmm.
Helena?
I'm not really sure how to spell it. It's kind of Russian.
Do you know her last name?
No.
And you said Joel, and he's another director?
Yeah, Joel.
And you said that he was also shot?
Yeah, which is just fucking mind-boggling to me. Yeah, both of them got shot.
How many rounds are...
I heard 1.
You just heard 1?
I heard 1. So it must have went through 1 and somehow hit the other. Which is fucking insane.
Okay. Do you know anybody else that was inside?
I don't. I wasn't there.
Well, obviously, yeah, Alec, right?
Yeah, Alec was inside. Fuck yeah. God, I hate myself for that.
And what about Dave?
Yeah, Dave was inside.
Do you know Dave's last name?
It's on the call sheet.
Corporal, did Ms. Gutierrez say that she hates herself because Alec Baldwin was in the church?
Yes.
This is like so awful. Dave calls.
Calls?
Yeah, and I got the Halyna Hutchins. Halyna. And then Hutchins.
She was another person that was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have Halyna, Joel. Do you know Joel's last name?
Joel Souza, Souza.
Okay. Alec, Dave, anybody else inside?
Well, her Steadicam operator was inside. His name is Reed Russell, Reid Russel. He's a camera guy.
Okay.
Did they identify the people that was inside?
Everyone that she can think of. She wasn't.
Yeah.
You know this just because, and I don't care about North or that, but, so where we were parked, here's the back of the church. That was the front.
The cars, where you were parked?
Yeah, we were parked over here. So the church, across the main entrance to that would have been over here. We were parked over here.
Okay, yeah.
Where was your car? Because I don't think there was doors here or on this side of the building.
So there's a door here, Okay. And my cart was approximately over here by a little black tent where producers or fucking cast or anyone would chill under, really.
Okay, and then that door's over here. So can you see the front, that door from where you were standing?
Yeah.
And you could see Dave the whole time on his way?
On his way.
Corporal, did Ms. Gutierrez indicate that the prop cart during the incident was located over by the black tent?
Yes.
And was that the exact same spot where it was when Mr. Halls took Mr. Benavides over to the cart to look for the gun?
Yes.
Well, no, I went inside to hand him the gun.
Oh,
he was standing in pretty much.
Okay, so you didn't just hand it and then he walked off? And
No, yeah, I handed it to Dave with the camera people there.
Okay. So you were close to the door when you handed it?
I was inside for a second, and then I went back out because, yeah.
They tell you to get out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
I'm just curious because of the whole transferring from one person to another of the gun.
Yeah.
So he is the one who gives it directly to Alec. Here's a picture, and I just want to see if this is something that would have come out of one of these.
Totally.
It wouldn't be a real life.
Let me pause there for a moment. What is Detective Talamonte, or now rather Corporal Talamonte, showing Ms. Gutierrez on her phone?
So we had received a photo from the deputy that was at the hospital with Joel Souza. He had sent us a photograph of the projectile that was removed from his shoulder inside a little like plastic canister, essentially, that the hospital staff had put it in.
I'm not going to put this up on the monitor because I think everybody can see it. I'm showing you what's already been entered as States Exhibit 54. Is this a photograph of is this what was in that photograph?
Yes.
Okay. Just the projectile?
Yeah, inside of a little container, though.
Okay. And this was just a photograph that a detective at the hospital took of the projectile inside the container and texted?
I don't believe it was a detective that was there. It was just a deputy that...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was instructed to go to the hospital with Joel Souza.
Gun, ammo.
So that looks like a blank one, which I'm pretty sure, because normally the blank ones, like, they have kind of this little line right there, and I'm pretty sure the regular ones don't.
Okay.
So that...
Detective, are you now relatively familiar with blank rounds?
Yes.
Do blank rounds look anything like that projectile?
No.
It looks like that would be in the blanks all the time.
Okay. That was what was pulled out of the shoulder.
Oh my God, poor Halyna.
So that's why they were thinking it could be an actual live round at this point.
Really?
Yeah. Does that look like it would have been a live round to you?
Well, honestly, if we had my extractor, we could pull this out and check it, but I don't know.
Actually, we could do a hole in that.
Yeah, I don't know, because look at that line. That's kind of a distinct thing. I think that's mostly for dummies.
Just to be clear, was Ms. Gutierrez offering to use a device to disassemble a round?
Yes.
Did she do that?
No, we couldn't. I could not find a tool at the sheriff's office that we could use to do that.
But did she indicate to you that she had one?
Yes.
But just not on her?
Correct.
All right.
Hold on.
That might be a regular live round, though.
It looks pretty. That's what they were thinking. It could be a live round.
Holy fuck.
I just think you said, and I think that's why there's a protocol, because of Lee, when all that happened on set too, was there anything that stuck out of the ordinary today to you?
No, I mean, just the whole camera crew quit. That's all. So we were like super behind and everything.
When did the camera crew quit?
Yesterday.
So is there a reason?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't think that they would be involved in that.
Well,
yeah.
Is there because maybe people were disgruntled?
Oh, there was some bickering, but I don't. Yeah, I highly doubt that they were able to switch any rounds, and especially getting a 45 round is like stupid hard right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at least, yeah.
Was there any of that towards Joel, or did anybody have any issues with Joel, and what was the other one?
I don't believe anyone had issues with Joel.
Okay. What was
Halyna. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know too much about her. She's definitely a strong personality, that's all.
But there's nobody that you could think of that might have any anger?
I couldn't really say that anyone would be, like, that angry. Like, you know, we're on a film set. Everybody's always pissed off at each other a little bit. We're together for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to not beef with people a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting that the whole camera crew quit yesterday, and then
that is pretty
something happens like this today. Would somebody want to maybe, or they could even have an issue without, if somebody wants to disrupt the filming of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you could think of?
I don't know. I can't really say for sure, and I wouldn't want to think that about anybody on that set personally.
You really don't want to think that about anybody.
Never.
But
no.
Unfortunately,
yeah, I can't think of like any one person. I couldn't really think of a situation that would require, like, you know, I don't know, almost killing somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it happened. I mean,
yeah.
You keep mentioning it was The Crow when that happened.
Yeah, that was scary,
so,
man.
These things happen with somebody.
I know, I can't believe I'm like the last thing like this to happen since The Crow.
And
my own fucking worst nightmare.
Well, I think right now they're good, but see, and that's why, unfortunately, they're right away like, oh, it's the person who is in charge of all these.
Totally.
And that's why we wanted to talk to you, was one of the main ones, because you're in charge of it, but that's also why would you put yourself in that predicament?
Yeah.
You know, so would it be possible?
Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe there was just perhaps a bad round in that box.
Okay. Well, a couple of bad rounds.
Possibly.
Because there wasn't one round that went off.
What? There was one, right?
How did two people get shot?
No, so there was only one round that went off, and I must have went through Joel somehow and fucking hit Halyna, and I'm like flabbergasted by this. I can't fucking imagine how that happened, but I heard one shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard one shot, and honestly, like, I opened up the gun, I checked the rest of them. Only one of these was gone, and the rest were fine.
Mm-hmm. I wish we could. This one has a different top than this one. This one that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, they all kind of vary a little bit. That's just the thing about them. They all vary a little bit. Yeah.
Tell me about what happened yesterday. Did something happen, or did they just walked off set and said
I have no idea. I think at the end of the night they all quit. The camera crew always bickered a lot, to be honest. Like, a lot of, I don't know, just animosity, I guess, or them with the grids. Everybody, yeah, that whole, it's almost unpleasant to be inside there, just because it's so, like, toxic. Yeah. So, COVID, yeah, I try to stay out, and then I was definitely on the sides watching, and they weren't supposed to be pulling the hammer back or anything. Like, it was just supposed to be in the shot. and so I don't know
Why
Yeah.
it was pulled back.
I don't know what, yeah. I mean, if they wanted it pulled back, like, that's fine. I had no idea about it, you know. But even then, it shouldn't have
That's what I was
gone
just
on.
gonna
Yeah.
ask you,
So
is
that's
there-
why I was all like, okay, like, it's right there, you know. I stand right by whenever there's gunfire. I'm still there whenever the shit's there, but I'm not usually directly inside the room just because they don't find it necessary.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's like, they're not supposed to pull the hammer back, but it still is a prop gun or prop.
It's a real gun.
Or
It's a real fucking gun.
But your props
Yeah.
is set,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, totally. I know, I don't know. I wish I would have checked it more.
Is there anything that you think could have happened?
I have no
that
idea.
somebody switched it out?
I don't know. Like I said, that box was shown there for lunch. I will say it is hard to get .45 ammo. You know, ammo's super expensive right now, and ever since the election, pretty much all ammo has been, like, bought up a ton. I'm sure you guys know as a police force.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, you had mentioned when you were loading, dumbing it up, one of the 6 rounds didn't fit in, correct? And you had to clean it.
Yeah.
Did that seem odd to you?
You know, no, that didn't really seem that odd. That gun had been dropped a lot in the dirt previous before that. Yeah. So it might have just been a little gunky. And then after I cleaned it out, like, it fit right in.
Okay.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Does that usually happen?
Does that usually happen? I mean, every now and then. Every now and then. Yeah.
You didn't think that it could have been the round itself that was the reason why it was initially given?
You know, I don't think so, because, like, these are dummies and everything, and they slide out a little easier, per se, but, yeah, I don't think that would have been a thing. Sometimes they do just get stuck because, like, the guns are a little dirty.
Corporal, did Ms. Gutierrez just indicate that the dummies slide in and out of the cylinder a little easier than live rounds?
Yes.
And she also indicated that that last round didn't want to go in as easily, is that correct?
Yes.
That 6th round that she put in after lunch?
That's correct.
Knowing that, everything else seemed normal with the rounds.
Everything else seemed status quo, and I thought today was going to be another, like, super great day, and that we were done shooting after this, and it's going to be smooth sailing.
So the picture of the round that I showed you, you think it could have been from the dummy?
Dummies, yeah. Honestly, I can't remember really if I got, if they were from the box or if they were from, on top of we have a cart, you know, and we have several dummies just around. Some come out of the box, but they're all out of boxes, really, like, you know. But yeah, might have just been one of the ones on the cart. But it should be, yeah.
And that's your car. Nobody else puts anything else on it.
Not really. I mean, you know,
but it is possible.
It is possible.
A lot of people have access to your car.
Yeah.
So, as you're loading it, do you...
Corporal, at this point in time, were you aware that there were actually 6 live rounds on set?
No.
So at this point in time, all you knew of was the one that resulted in the injuries, is that correct?
That's correct.
And check every single time?
Yeah.
Every round?
Yeah.
And you did it on this time too?
I did it.
Okay. But that one round, you weren't sure if it was fresh out of the box or just laying on the cart?
Honestly, I don't think, like, if it didn't rattle, I wouldn't have put it in.
Okay. And so you heard the rattle? Okay.
Yeah, I checked all 6 of them for a rattle.
I hate to belabor the point, but she indicated she checked all 6 of them for a rattle, but one of them didn't have a BB in it, right?
That's correct. One of the rounds that Hannah had loaded in that firearm actually had a hole in the side of it to indicate it was a dummy, so it would not have rattled, which is contrary to her statement of if it wouldn't have rattled, I wouldn't have put it in.
And the live rounds wouldn't have rattled, correct?
No, they won't.
All right, we're almost done with this one.
I just really, I mean, incidents I guess sometimes happen, but just that the whole crew quits the day before and then something like this happens.
I don't know. I totally feel like this was just a fucking really fucked up accident.
And that's how you feel?
Yeah. I wouldn't think that anyone on that film set is that malicious.
I mean, I just have to ask you.
Yeah, no,
because
totally.
it is something.
Well, yeah.
Okay. What about Sarah? How much do you know about her? How long have you worked with her?
Like the nicest little Christian girl ever.
Okay.
We're gonna an extractor and an armor. So
An extractor?
yeah.
For those?
Yes.
So I'm gonna take one of these real quick, okay?
Totally.
I'll be back in just a minute.
And so just to be clear, the one that you had seen, that you had pulled out, looks like which one?
Mostly like that one.
Okay. With the,
Yeah, except when I saw it, it was punctured.
so, not, it wasn't
And the
missing
protector.
it.
When I took it out, yeah, it was punctured, so.
Okay, we're gonna have you come in here, okay? Unless you have anything else that you think you missed or want to add. I am gonna hold on to these, okay? Actually, I'm gonna hold on to that. Okay.
Just one more clarification. When you got the gun back handed to you, had someone already opened it too, or you did all the manipulating of it?
I did all the manipulating.
So Dave just literally just handed you the gun,
Handed it to me.
and it was still closed.
It was still closed.
Okay.
All right, let's see this. Yeah, you want to grab that? There's a trash right there.
That's the end of it. Would the court like to take the afternoon break?
All right, we're going to take our afternoon break. Please don't tell coming yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court. Follow the bailiffs.
All rise.
All right, you may be seated. Counsel, approach. So I think that's helpful. All right, you may be seated. Okay, jurors, you may notice some new props at council table. Somebody hold up one of their props. They begged me, so I said okay. But if anybody spills it, they don't get another one. So, in fairness to you all, if you want to bring in some coffee, you may, oh, look at that. You may do so, okay? Do you all have cups with lids?
There are lids in there.
Okay.
I'll just have to pull them out of the cabinet. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great, because this trial is long, and, you know, it's warm in here. Oh, she had a coat on before.
It's freezing in here.
Anyway, so I think that's helpful to you all, because I think that, you know, especially after lunch, I think that, you know, some of us are like, wow, it's quite a heavy meal I just had, so. All right, now for you press, I'll let you do it too, but just behave, and if you spill it, you're completely out of here. No, I'm kidding. But just, okay, because, you know, it stains the rug, so, as we all know. All right, so we have a jury question, okay? Jury question.
Sure.
Can we have closed captions for video testimony? Okay, so here's the situation. You'll remember that it was redacted. So well, first of all, no. The answer is no. They do have some transcriptions, but they have the transcription of the whole thing, of the whole interview, and they've redacted some of it. So that's not going to work. However, we did, Brian mentioned that you all had some, you know, somebody said that you're having difficulties so on listening to all of it or interpreting all of it. So what we're going to do is she's just going to stop from time to time and ask her to repeat what was heard or what was said, okay? Now, if you really feel like you missed something and Ms. Morrissey or Mr. Bowles aren't asking the witness what was said, raise your hand. Don't be shy, okay? Because if you'd have told us, we could have done that in the other video too, and we want you to hear as much as you can in the courtroom, and then of course you can always replay it when you're deliberating, okay? All right, thank you.
Corporal, throughout your investigation, was it your understanding that the rounds that were taken out of the gun after the shooting were left on the prop cart?
That was my understanding because of the statement Hannah had made, that when she went to check that weapon to see what was inside of it, that she did it over that prop cart.
Okay, and along those lines, where was the spent casing that we've now heard testimony was fired from this gun, where was that spent casing found?
It was on top of the prop cart.
Okay. So we are going to, let me get the exhibit number, I apologize. Okay, we are now going to play State's Exhibit 68. And just for clarification, can you see on your screen what we're looking at?
Yes.
So we understand that the first video was of the statement on October 21st. What date is this interview taking place?
This is November 9th, 2021.
I would ask to admit State's Exhibit 68 and permission to publish.
No objection.
Yes, admitted, you may publish.
There you go. There you go. Thanks. All right, let's do this. Yeah. Where's Alex at? Sam? I said, where's Alex at? I'm Alex. Oh, really? Wait. The other one was Sam? Yeah. Oh, gee.
If you turn it down a little, do you think you can hear better? I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Let's, yes, but that control seems to really take it up or down significantly, so it's hard to fine tune it. Let me see if I can make it better from here, George, and if I can't, we'll push it down one up there.
Yeah, she was assisting. I'm actually primary on this. Okay.
It needs to go up a little.
Up a little? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try it there and see if I can get the, okay.
I totally had you guys mixed up. Okay.
What do you think? You
I
want
was
to?
kind of like out of it.
I can't tell what this
Oh,
means.
I think everybody was a little bit that day. Yeah. So it's formality.
Does that sound okay?
I noticed that this microphone's on. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
maybe we can turn off more of these microphones and prevent some of that.
Is that one on over there? No? Okay. All right, let's see.
Mine's on and I can turn it off, and I think, Corporal, you can turn yours off as long as you remember to turn it back on when we're talking. Okay.
But remember,
All right, I'm just going to play it from the beginning.
There you go. There you go. Thanks. All right, let's do this. Yeah. Where's Alex at? Sam? I said, where's Alex at? I'm Alex. Oh, really? Wait. The other one was Sam? Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah. She was assisting. I'm actually primary on this. Okay, I totally had you guys mixed up. Okay. I was kind of like out of it, so yeah. Oh, I think everybody was a little bit that day. Yeah. So it's formality. She signed this the first night, okay. I'm gonna have you do it again tonight, just that way we're all in understanding. I know your attorney's here. This is your statement of rights, okay? Okay. Oh, thank you. Do I check all of these? Yeah, initial them for me. Okay. I like your necklace. Thank you. It's actually a locket. Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay.
Oh, what's the date?
It was the 9th.
Jeez.
I don't even know what to do with this year anymore.
Yeah,
And if you
I
want
know.
to sign as one of the
Sure.
witnesses, and I'll sign as the other. She's fancy pins and all. Can make some of those here that way. Anybody asks, just say,
Yeah.
there you go.
Everything.
All right, Hannah, so let's start out. I'm going to kind of go over your experience again, okay? So can you tell me your years of experience as an armorer?
Okay, so pretty much mostly really started taking on this armor job in March with my dad. We did the movie Murder at Immigrant Gulch together on the same team. I was his assistant. And then I did my own job as head armor on the Old Way after that. And then after that, I did this, you know. And before that, I had gone on a couple of things with my dad, mostly doing production assistant work, but also still kind of watching him and still kind of learning from him on the side.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I did Magnificent Seven like back in 2015, and we were out there for like 2 months, and I was learning a lot from him then too.
okay, so pretty much just assisting him
Yeah,
from 2015 until...
Yeah, pretty much. And also, well, not like consistently either, because I was in college for a lot of that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so for a lot of before this, I was in college, so not really able to do the whole film set thing.
Okay. What did you go to college for?
I went to college for communications and film.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also took a lot of art classes too.
So how many productions now do you have under your belt?
Three Cinema, whatchamacallit, about 7.
7.
7, yeah, and then also I did a bunch in college, you know.
And then how many with you as head armor?
Head armor, just 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the...
This, Rust, and the Old Way, yeah.
Okay. How long did you spend on the Old Way?
We did that for a month and a week.
Oh, so like not that much time.
Not that much time.
And
No. But it was only me doing the guns on it, so it was me, 22 guns, doing all of the loading and everything myself.
Okay. What about any official training that you've done? In regards to...
Official training? Not really much official training.
So just...
I was planning on getting my concealed carry permit pretty soon, but haven't gotten there yet.
Okay. For what you do as an armorer, does this job require you to use like specific tools when you're doing inspections on weapons?
So I don't really do the inspections on weapons too much. I'm not a gunsmith by any means, you know. I get them from Seth, like, you know, maintenance them and everything. I was cleaning a couple of them, and a couple of them did have some issues that I couldn't figure out, so I sent them back to Seth, and he sent them back to me, and they were okay.
Okay. So any type of like malfunction or anything that you came across would go?
Yeah.
And you're talking about Seth Kenny, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I sent back one of the guns because the hammer was pulled back, and it wouldn't release back down, and I don't know, he said something about I cleaned it wrong or something, I'm not sure, but I cleaned 17 other pistols that day, so I don't know how I did that one wrong.
Okay. Do you remember which one that was?
You know, that was actually one of Miller's guns, and not related to the incident really, but Miller was one of the deputies, and just one of his, the hammer got stuck back, and I've never encountered that before, so went ahead and sent it back.
Okay. So as far as like the movie productions go, do they require you to have any certifications to work? And it can be like,
you know,
anything.
I'm not really sure entirely, just because most of the jobs I've gotten have just been like through word of mouth and everything, or like, you know, Seth works on getting them for me, or my dad gets them for me, or my dad got me on as his assistant the first time, you know, so I'm not really sure entirely what they are looking for. I know that they get a firearms license and everything, and a license for the area to shoot on and everything, but they usually get that. I don't even get that usually, so I'm not really sure in terms of what else. I know that Seth always tells me that I'm on his license to work with these weapons, and that's all I really know.
And that's kind of the same with Sarah, right?
Yeah. Not really sure what that's ever meant. Seth always just says Hannah and Sarah are on my license.
Okay. But as far as, like, you go, there's no,
no one really asks about much of that.
Like, you don't have to take safety classes in regards to anything with movie sets.
So that's the thing. I was actually just getting into the union, and with the union and everything, because on this set they hired me non-union. But normally with the unions, you take a safety course, you take a sexual harassment course, and you take a few different things. And I had, like, literally just gotten the paperwork and everything to get in that. And you need 30 union days on a union show before you can do that. And so I had 22 before this job. And so a lot of the days from this job were going to count towards that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I wasn't even able to get that. But for other than that, like the whole industry doesn't really require anything. It's mostly just California or union, and I wasn't union.
Okay. And so Rust wasn't like, you know, like I obviously have to have a cert to be a cop.
Yeah, no,
and
totally.
Take, like, you know, every year I got to take like driving courses and shooting courses and everything like that.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, Rust didn't really ask me anything about that. They kind of just conferred it all through Seth.
Okay. So I heard that you were hired to do a couple jobs on this set.
Yes.
Can you talk about or tell me about both of them?
Okay, so like originally when I got on the set, you know, I have always done armor kind of really separate from props. Like I'm always with props, but we do it ourselves, me and my dad, and props doesn't really interfere. This is the only job that I've taken where I was heavily incorporated into props, and it's because originally they had hired me for armor and key prop assistant. And that's not just like prop assistant, that's the key prop assistant. So that means more responsibility. That means I'm Sarah's second.
Okay.
In a lot of cases. So if there's an issue with props, you would go to Sarah, and then if there's an issue where Sarah can't, you know, isn't there, then it goes to me, and then we have our assistant, Nicole. So I had, my job is the armor, and originally I thought that I was mostly going to be doing my armor job and kind of left alone to do that, but after the first week, I got talked to by some people in production, and they were told that I wasn't really pulling my weight in props. So basically I was told that I needed to shift my focus less on armor and more onto props.
Who did they expect to take on the armor role if it wasn't your...
I don't know. They told me, they said, yeah, we hear that you're taking your armor job very seriously, but we need you to support props right now because props is also struggling. And I was like, okay, I'll try my best to do that. And they said, normally before that I would kind of just hang out in the prop truck and, like, you know, work on the guns and just kind of be in there doing my own stuff if there weren't any guns on set. But after that they had told me, like, no, we want you on set. We want you as a present on set for props.
Okay.
Yeah, so was split up quite a bit.
Can you give me some examples of what you would do, like when you were assisting props?
Okay, yeah. So normally, you know, I kind of, like for the saloon scene, I would just kind of be standing there, you know, watching over the guns and everything, checking them for the actors as I brought them into the actors. That's just my job as the armor. With the saloon and everything, I'm pouring drinks for props. I'm running outside and rolling cigarettes. I'm, like, doing several different things and grabbing several different props and setting props up constantly. And so, yeah, when some scenes aren't exactly super prop heavy and sometimes they're just kind of gun heavy, and so in that case I can, like, focus more on the guns, but sometimes I was split between running the guns and also dealing with the props. But Nicole, the assistant, tried to help alleviate that a little bit, but not every, you know, she was pretty green, so had to step in a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Mostly I thought that I was there doing props at the beginning just to help find everything, because we got hired on a week before. Normally you hire the prop master a month in advance. Sarah got brought on a week before. I got brought on a little after her. And so we were just kind of running around that first week trying to find props. And then I thought after that, you know, after she got the assistant, I'd be able to focus more on the guns. But then production talked to me and said that I needed to focus more on props. So.
Okay. And who from production?
Gabrielle Pickle, and also the head of the art department, Brian. Mostly, yeah, Sarah just said that I couldn't really support props in the way needed, so they were talking about possibly taking, I was talking to them and I was like, well, do you not want me to do props at all in this case and just focus on the guns? And they were like, no, like we don't want Nicole stepping up and taking your position. We want you to step into this position, and we think it's a great opportunity for you. But really, I just got to do 2 jobs for less pay.
Yeah. How did you feel about the added responsibility?
You know, it was a lot, but I'm super eager, and when someone kind of says, like, you know, you can do this, like, then I'm just like, okay, now I have to show them, like, I can do this, you know? So ultimately, it was frustrating, but at the same time, I was like, all right, got to go and kick ass in props now, I guess, too.
Yeah. Did you ever have, like, any time that specifically pointed out to you where you felt overwhelmed by doing props?
Well, you know, props, we were told a lot, you know, that we were kind of lagging, and, like, the wranglers would kind of shit on us for not propping up horses soon enough, or, like, not getting actors propped up soon enough, so props was definitely struggling. And then after that talk I had with Brian, I went to Sarah and I was like, I'm not like pulling my weight, you know? And I tried to talk to her about it, and she was like, yeah, I didn't mean to like be a jerk about it. I just wanted to let them know that I needed more help in the department. And so we talked about it, and I was like, well, that's cool. Just maybe next time go ahead and talk to me first before going to Brian and Gabrielle.
Do you know why they didn't utilize Nicole more?
They, well, we definitely did utilize Nicole, but ultimately I have a very strong personality, and also a lot of the times, like, my personality would even be stronger than Sarah's in a lot of respects, and a lot of people were already kind of gaining respect for me, like, in terms of, like, you know, the wranglers and everything, and I'm just good at meshing with other departments.
Okay.
You know, so they wanted me on set more just to kind of, you know, be a presence of props and really, you know, kind of just be a demanding force.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever express to them at any point if you felt overwhelmed? Or
after that, you know, I thought we were doing pretty good of managing both. There were some days, you know, where I would talk to Sarah and I was like she would be like, could you come out here and see what's going on with me? And I was like, no, dude, I need to, like, focus on guns, and I need to pull guns for later on. And she would be like, well, you're the second. I think you should be here with me on set to watch this. And I was like, there's not a lot of props out there. I'm going to be here doing the guns.
Okay.
So there was a couple of times, but I also kind of really held my ground on not, you know, spreading myself too incredibly thin.
Or getting overran by others.
Yeah, exactly. Because you kind of just have to, you know. But ultimately, with higher positions, sometimes you get ran over.
Okay. Who hired you for Rust?
I believe, I'm not really sure. Seth just texted me and he was like, you got the job, prop assistant, so-and-so. I sent him my resume, and they, Sarah sent it in, and I think Roe approved it. And yeah, so Sarah hired me, Roe approved it.
Okay. So it's not like a typical hiring process for a job where you have to go in and...
Yeah, no, there's no real interviews like any time in film. Film is a very weird industry.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth by all means. I think it's so weird how, like, secretive it is almost, you know, like it's really hard to get on anything unless you know somebody, and if you stop working for a while, it's like almost hard to jump back in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really weird. You can't just like look up like film jobs in your area and then go and apply. That's not a thing. Yeah. I really wish it was kind of like that. That would probably, yeah, that'd be a lot better. But right now there's just such a media surge, especially that, you know, they're just kind of getting on anyone that they can bring really, because the media surge with all of these different like the networks and everything coming out with their own little internet things, it's making everything like boom right now like crazy.
Yeah. I know you had talked about how you were in the process of becoming a union member.
Yeah.
With which union?
I was working on becoming a union member with the local 44.
Okay.
That's the oldest and longest established union, and it's also the one that my dad's a part of, so.
Is that like international or?
I'm not really entirely sure. I know it's mostly California. You know, each union is kind of specific to the area. Yeah, I think that one is the most put together one, and it's definitely the most active one, which is why I was trying to be a part of it. And I had already actually started the, like, kind of OSHA safety one a little bit after this, actually, so I had already been starting that. Because I just got in, like, a little bit before that into the program.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as your employment on Rust, were you hired on a contract? Or how
I was
determined?
I was hired on a contract, yeah. You know. The contract wasn't really specific to the job per se. The contract was just like regular employee contract. Jason has a copy of it.
Okay. Is there any way I can get a copy?
Sure, yeah, I'll send that.
Yeah.
Besides you and Sarah and Nicole, were there any other armorers or prop masters or anybody brought onto the set at any time?
I don't believe so. Not anyone brought on the set. I don't really know if Seth ever came to set, but he was the mentor on the paperwork and everything, and he was like where we got most of our stuff from.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no one else ever worked with you guys? They didn't do like a late hire?
Oh, so they did bring in one girl for swing shift, but I don't even know if she ever made it to set or if she just met up with Sarah outside of set.
Okay.
But yeah, we had finally, week 2 was coming around and we told them like it's getting crazy busy. We can't have Sarah leaving set to go find these things, so they brought in a day player that could run around and go find things for us.
Okay.
Because before that, Sarah had to leave set a lot of the time. Oh, that also contributed to spreading us thin for a little while there. That's why they brought in the third person, because ultimately Sarah would have to leave set pretty much every day for several hours, and then it would just be me out there.
And what would Sarah go do at that time?
Sarah would go try to find props, because with them bringing her in a week, you know, it's hard to find like a weird Indian axe, you know, like there's a bunch of weird, obscure things for a period piece that are super hard to find. So she would go try to find them, meet up with other prop masters in the area and see if they had them.
Do you know who that fourth was?
You know, I think her name was Jade.
Jade?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was hoping for her to come more on set, but yeah, they just hired her as a day player every now and then.
Okay. Okay, so as far as, and I know some of this that we've talked about before, some of it might be a little bit redundant.
It's okay.
But just trying to cover all bases. So, again, who provides the ammo?
So as far as I'm concerned, me and Sarah, we went together and we picked up the ammunition and all the weapons and my leathers from Seth Kinney in Albuquerque at his shop. Yeah, we got 2 boxes of ammo, I'm pretty sure, that day. And then as we went on in the show, there were a couple of times that we needed more. So Sarah and I would text him, you know, that we needed more, and occasionally Sarah brought in more ammo from Seth.
Okay. Those 2 boxes that were originally supplied, were they blanks or dummies?
Originally supplied.
You said that you picked up 2 boxes of ammo.
Oh yeah, so
I
Or
think
do
there
you
was,
mean like boxes, like the white boxes?
no, they
or
were like bigger boxes,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, no, a lot of them were, there wasn't a lot of dummies in those really much at all. There were some dummies, you know, like obscure dummies that we couldn't really get, like, the 50-70 rounds, you know. I don't know if you're familiar with those. Those are big rounds. They go in the trapdoor. So we had some of those dummies with it. But in terms of 45 long Colt dummies, I don't think there was a lot of dummies in there. And so I asked Seth about it, and I said, hey, like, where's all the long Colt dummies? Because the 45, you know, 45 ammo is, like, different than 45 long Colt. So we didn't exactly, I couldn't find that. So he told me to check the dummies that I had from the last show because he got me those ones and everything. And so I went back through a bag that I had. This bag had like a bunch of loose dummies in it. And I went through and I checked all of them and I put them into 2 boxes. And so we had 2 boxes of 45 long Colt dummies that were mine from the last show.
So
originally.
Cage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had just brought those off of the old way and they were in my car for like 2 weeks. I jumped right off of the old way into this. I was barely home for like a week. So, yeah.
But he told you to check your supply.
Yeah.
And what you had to take it.
Yeah.
So he authorized you to bring.
He authorized me to bring, dummies.
Okay.
And then also, there was one time where he didn't give us any eighth loads, and I had 1 box of eighth loads, and so I was like...
So, Corporal, just to be clear, what we've just heard, did Ms. Gutierrez tell you that she brought 2 boxes of dummies onto the set of Rust that she had left over from the old way?
Yes.
And did she also explain that they were loose in a bag in her car and they had been there for 2 weeks?
That's correct.
And did she explain that she took them out of the bag and put them in boxes?
Yes.
I'm gonna use my box of eighth loads, put it on the invoice, and I would have received money for that.
For blanks.
For blanks, yeah. Eighth load blanks.
Okay. Did you ever get recompensated for this?
No, I don't really plan on it, given the circumstances, because usually that goes through Seth, and then Seth kicks me down with whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how many rounds, and 2 boxes is, you know, kind of hard for us to, we're just trying to understand, so how many rounds would you say were supplied at the beginning?
You know, mind if I check my phone really quick? I think Seth, like, sent me a picture of, like, it written on cardboard or something.
Okay.
Or actually, if you look at the boxes, I think the boxes...
On the flap?
Yeah, on the flap should say it.
Okay.
Did you see that at all?
Yeah. I don't.
That's the, okay, that's what Seth showed me. So that same thing, that's what should have all been in there.
Okay. And so you and Sarah picked it up at the beginning of production.
Yeah.
From Albuquerque, brought it to set, and then...
Yeah, but we couldn't exactly bring it to set right away because they hadn't had the prop truck ready for us, so we had to leave it. You know, she had the guns in her car in Albuquerque. I had the ammo in my trunk at the hotel, and then we just took them to set the next day.
Okay, so it was less than like
overnight, yeah, just overnight.
Period. It was like multiple days. That's
multiple days of what?
I was just gonna say, for Sarah to keep all those in her vehicle in Albuquerque, that's a
Well,
bold move.
Well, and it was only one night, and she had a garage.
Okay.
So that's why we ultimately, she was like, "Do you want them to go with you or me?" And I was like, "You have a garage, you know."
Albuquerque though.
Oh, I know. I told her. Seth was all like, "Get those and get out," and I was like, "Hell yeah."
So when you guys brought additional rounds on the set, or additional boxes, or needed more, how did those get delivered?
Sarah brought them in most of the time. I never saw Seth after the first time that I saw him before the show.
Okay. So did Sarah, do you know if she went and picked them up from Albuquerque, or how did she get them?
She lived in Albuquerque, so most of the time she would just run and grab them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she got any more from anyone else. I had heard that some of the dummies were borrowed from someone. I don't know. She said, don't lose any of these because we have to give them back. And I was like, okay, they fall out of the gun belt and everything, but I'll try not to lose them.
Okay. And then how much did you supply of your own?
Of my own dummies?
Yeah.
Just the 2. And we mostly went through those right away just because 2 boxes, 2 of the little boxes. Not like big boxes, just the little boxes. And yeah, I had 2 of those, and most of mine had the no primer caps, the ones that I showed you, remember?
Is it the ones that are like indented in?
Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of those were mine, and then also I had a multitude of the ones with holes and the ones you shake. So yeah, and I checked those all, and I put them into 2 things.
Okay.
Myself, yeah.
Do you remember what those boxes look like?
Yeah, I do. They usually say JS on them.
Okay.
This is one that my dad sent me. And mine are usually beat up pretty bad. Like they're very dirty and gross, usually.
Okay. Do you know what the JS stands for in them?
Joe Swanson.
Okay. Have you met Joe?
I have not, but him and my dad are pretty good friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me stop it there for a moment. Corporal, did Ms. Gutierrez show you a photograph on her phone during the interview?
Yes, she did.
And did she indicate to you that the photograph that she was showing you was a photograph of the box or a box that would be like the box that she brought onto the set that had dummies?
Yes.
And did she tell you who she got that photo from?
She said in her interview that she got that photo from her father, which is Bill Reed.
And I'm going to show you what has previously been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 69. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is that the exact photo that she showed you during the interview?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Does this look exactly like the box of dummies that Mr. Benavides took from the prop cart on October 21st, 2021?
Yes, it looks exactly like it.
Thank you.
All right. So as far as the ammo goes, who has access?
They stay in the truck, like on, the only thing that's in the safe is the guns. So yeah, pretty much, I don't know if they locked the prop truck at night or what happened with that, but yeah, so pretty much just me, Nicole, Sarah, and the first week we did share that prop truck with locations.
Okay.
But other than that, the prop truck, would kind of be open most days just because we're running in and out of there. And sometimes, ammo is underneath on our cart, just chilling there usually.
Like on the floor of the
On the
truck?
bottom, no, of the cart.
Okay, on the second shelf?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I usually try to keep it down there.
So all the ammo is pretty much out in the open?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, unless it wasn't, like, taken out directly of the boxes or anything, then yeah, the ones that are out there are out in the open pretty much regularly.
Okay, and they never get locked up in a safe?
No.
Okay. Were all the guns provided by Seth?
Yes.
And who has access to the guns?
Sarah and I believe Nicole kind of knew the code, but I don't think she remembered it most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did she ever remove the guns from the safe?
I had her put them away sometimes.
Okay.
Mostly just because I couldn't leave set.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does anybody watch her do that?
No, not really.
Is she allowed to?
Mostly somebody has to lock them up and they shouldn't be on set, so, you know, Sarah or I would give her permission to go over there and just put them in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's something that you guys are allowed to do, is give someone else permission to lock
I would
them
think
up.
for a prop assistant, yeah.
Okay.
She only put them away ever.
So who all has the ability to lock the safe?
I mean, anyone that has arms, like, can close it, you know.
Is that you don't have to punch in the code again to lock it?
No.
So you turn the knob and it's set?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the truck? Who has the ability to lock the truck?
You know, none of us lock the truck ever. We figured that's kind of like the transpo's job. We don't have locks for the trucks normally. I know some prop masters lock up their own trucks, but yeah, not really sure. We kind of just closed ours up every day.
Okay. Do you know?
I don't know if transpo ever locked it.
Okay. Do you know who was in charge of that truck?
Not specifically.
Okay.
I don't remember his name.
It was a male though.
Yeah.
Can you describe him?
He was a sweet old Hispanic man with a nice mustache.
Okay. Heavy set, midweight?
Midweight.
And he was the one primarily in charge of that truck?
Towards like the second week, yeah. Before that, we kind of just had random people moving it, and then eventually he got assigned to us pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the morning when you got there, was it ever locked up?
No.
Okay. So you just walk in?
Walked in and pulled the handle.
Okay. What about the back of it? I know it's got one of those big...
Yeah, that's what we normally did. Yeah, we just closed up the side and we would unlock the handle. We figured it was usually getting watched by security.
Do they just have security, and it's okay if you don't know, but do they just have security at that front gate there, or do they have...
I know that I've seen some security around other parts of set, like just in a car, but that was mostly after the incident and everything, and it was just a car near the church.
Okay.
So that's really all I know about the security measures.
All right. So you'd say, as far as ammo goes, it is common to have it outside of that safe?
Yeah, no, it's super common to have it outside of the safe.
Okay. Who loads the ammo into the guns?
Me and Sarah.
Okay, you both load them.
Yeah.
And who loads ammo into, like, the bandoliers or the belts and...
That's me and Sarah again. I think Nicole helped us a couple of times shaking them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did she ever, like, actually load them, or did she just shake them and say they're good?
And she would shake them and put them into the belt with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how often, or should I say, when did you guys put the ammo in the bandoliers?
A lot of them already had it in there. So, from the last Nick Cage set and everything. So, still check those ones out and everything. But we, of course, had a couple more that we had to, like, switch around and everything. So, mostly the whole first week, we were switching them around. And then after that, we did have a couple more characters come in with different, you know, waist sizes. So, we would have to, like, put them in other belts, too.
So some of these belts already had rounds in them?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember which ones?
No. They mostly got switched around a lot, and a lot of them fell out pretty regularly out of the
rounds in them?
Yeah. The dummy rounds would fall out sometimes just because when they're riding the horses, they jiggle out.
Okay.
So you regularly have to put more in them.
So since some of this ammo came from another production, was the ammo in those belts ever checked?
Yeah.
So you guys physically removed them from the belts?
Yeah.
And checked them?
Yes.
Okay. And who all did the checking?
That was me. That was involved in the 2 boxes that I did.
At the beginning?
Yes.
Alright. So, when ammo's not being used, then, does it ever go back in a box? Does it stay?
When ammo's not being used, if it's about to be used, it's there on the bottom of the cart. Like if we're gonna get into it later that day, we don't really have time to run back to the truck. So we usually keep it right there if we're shooting that day. If we're not shooting that day, it doesn't really come on set. I'll usually bring like maybe a box of quarter loads just in case they randomly decide that they want to shoot something, because they'll change their minds last minute, and then you have to be prepared for that.
Who's they?
Directors, actors, whoever just like feels like maybe I should be shooting right now, kind of.
Okay. So when you go to unload the belts or the guns, anything of the sort, does it go back in a box?
The belts?
The
Like
ammo?
we don't ever take once the dummies are on the belt, they stay on the belt, and the belts just get hung in the prop truck.
Okay.
Like, yeah. And then for the guns and everything, yeah, we take all the dummies out if it's dummied up, and then of course we take the blanks out too.
But where do they go?
They go back in a box.
Okay.
Or sometimes the dummies, they'll go on the cart, on the top of the cart.
Okay. So would you say that ammo's ever mixed?
The dummies and the blanks?
Or just, various kinds of dummies?
Well, various kinds of dummies, yeah. Like I told you, all dummies are kind of weird and individual in their own way, pretty much. So yeah, they were mixed pretty regularly.
Okay. So it's not like, I say, hey, I take these rounds out of here, and they have to go back in that specific box because these are...
No, they just go in a dummy box.
Okay.
In a box of dummies.
So our actors or crew members on set, are they advised to self-inspect weapons?
I'm not really sure. Most of the time when they tell me, like I'll go up to them and I'm like, here, and I show them it's clear, they'll be like, it's okay, I trust you. I say, don't trust me, go ahead and always check for yourself.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Are they required to self-check?
No, not really.
Okay.
But I do show them every time before I hand them off to them.
All right.
Show them that the gun's clear.
Have you seen any of them do their own safety checks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Jensen does his own safety checks. Travis does his own safety checks. Travis Hamel. Devin was getting into doing his own safety checks because I taught him how to do it. So he was kind of getting better at that.
What would they do to do these checks?
Pull the hammer back to half cock, spin it around, and close it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not pulling it rounds out, checking them themselves?
No, not really.
Okay. Has it ever been common practice for actors to do?
I'm not really too sure.
What about on your last production? Did they ever do their own?
Nick Cage definitely did not. He barely really cared to train with the gun at all. A lot of actors sometimes will barely care to train with the gun at all and think that they'll just do it on the day. But yeah, no, not a lot of them take it out and check them.
Okay. When you or somebody gives a gun to an actor, do you tell them, like, hey, these are the rounds that are in this gun? Like, do you tell them it's hot or cold, and then what kind of ammo is in the gun?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah. So
I tell them, all right, so this is a clear gun if there's no dummies in it, right? If it's dummied up, I show them and I say this is dummied up, and usually I have the dummies that have no primer cap in there. So I'll show them that. And then if it's hot, I'll tell them it's hot, and I'll tell them 4 quarter loads or 4/8 loads or
whatever is in the gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I let them know exactly how many is in there. And I put it exactly to where they'll shoot it and it'll go for that time.
Okay. Have you ever allowed access to anyone for any of these firearms?
No. Like for using them on set, or?
For any purpose that
Well, I allow the.
outside of what their scope was?
No.
Like after hours, during lunch?
No.
You know, days that you guys weren't?
No, me, Nicole, and Sarah ate lunch together pretty regularly, pretty much every day, except for a couple of days where I would sit at another table or converse with some other people. But yeah, we all went to lunch together. We all locked them up every day at lunch, and we all locked them up every night. And I definitely didn't go to work on my weekends, because why would I do that, you know?
Right.
I want to be there as least as possible.
Same.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So yeah, last weekend I was in Denver the first weekend actually. So yeah, and then the other one I was just relaxing at my hotel.
Did you spend any time with anybody on the weekend?
Yeah, I spent some time with the nice boy at the front desk at my hotel. He was nice. I hung out with some crew members. We went bowling one time. And other than that, I didn't really hang out with people outside of set too much. And I kind of went and did my own thing in Denver the week before. We haven't really been there that long.
Okay. Did you go out, this is kind of in, did you go out with the crew one night to, I think they said like some brewery?
Yeah, we went to the brewery downtown after bowling.
After bowling?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was on a day off though?
Yeah.
Did you have work the next day?
No, that was Monday. We worked, we had Monday, Tuesday off.
Okay. Do you remember which Monday it was?
It was the last Monday before the incident.
Okay.
So the 20th was the incident, I believe, on Wednesday? 21st, so.
So the 11th?
The Monday.
Columbus Day, is that a holiday?
Or would that be the 18th?
No. Yeah, it would be the 18th.
Okay. So you were off that Monday and Tuesday?
Yeah.
And then we're back a couple days.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you yourself, and not just on this set, but have you ever encountered a defective blank or
a defective dummy?
Yeah.
So, you know, I've had a couple of blanks that haven't gone off, you know, but usually that's because the actor doesn't pull the hammer all the way back, and so it'll just be at half cock, and so when they shoot it, it won't ignite it, and I usually just say, like, oh, it was a misfire, to kind of save the actor's face a little bit in that case. And then in terms of bad dummies, I had never experienced a bad dummy.
Okay. So what's your standard protocol, like, if one of them's defective?
The dummies or the blanks?
Either one.
Okay, so if the blanks are defective, you know, usually I'll just take them, I'll put them in my pocket, I'll save them for later, and then if I'm curious enough, I'll just go ahead and, like, shoot them and be like, okay, yeah, they didn't pull the hammer all the way back. Or if the dummies were defective, I guess, I would put them in my pocket and just save them till later and check them out.
Okay. Have you ever, in your history of working, encountered live rounds on a set?
Never.
Okay. And how do you know that?
Because every dummy I've ever shaken has been a dummy, and the other ones have holes in the side, and I've never experienced a round that looked like a dummy and behaved like a blank or anything. So, yeah, I am shaking all of them most of the time.
Okay.
So.
And then, I know you've said this a million times, but just do me a favor, go over each round and then how the round.
Corporal, did Ms. Gutierrez tell you she was shaking all of them?
Is your microphone on?
Sorry. Did Ms. Gutierrez tell you that she was shaking all of them most of the time?
Yes.
Thank you.
Each round of blanks?
Yeah, and dummies. So I know that
Okay.
there's, like, obviously a couple different kinds of dummies.
All right, yeah, okay.
You don't have to go into, like,
No,
every
that's okay.
specific caliber or anything of that sort, but just...
Okay, let's, all right.
So, a lot of the dummies, the ones with primer caps, those ones mostly go in the belts and everything. A lot of the primer caps are punctured most of the time, you know, because they get hit while they're in the gun. So those will go in the gun sometimes if I don't have the other ones. There are some with holes in the side that also still have the primer caps and everything. And then there's the ones with no primer caps, and there's a hole in the side sometimes too with those, and sometimes there's not. And mostly I like to put the ones with no primer caps into the guns, you know, just to make everyone feel safe. And then for the other ones, those go in the belts, you know, and the ones that have the primer cap.
Corporal, is it your understanding from your investigation that the dummies that were put into Mr. Baldwin's prop gun on October 21st, 2021, all had missing primer caps?
No.
And the hole in the side are good for both, really.
Okay. And then
For all the loads, yeah, all right. So for all the blanks, all the quarters, so there's eighth loads. Those are the super quietest ones, and I just worked with Ryan Armstrong, that little 11-year-old on the old way, and I had her use those. So especially if it's someone that's really young and new with the guns, I'll make sure that they're the smallest load possible, which is an eighth. Some horses require eighth loads. Most of the time I'll put the box and I'll put horsey rounds on them in my own handwriting, so that way I know.
And are those the eighths?
Yeah, those are the eighths. And then sometimes, you know, I will, if it's super close proximity, and inside eighths too, but quarters also work for inside proximities that are close. And then on top of that, for the quarters, around kids, around horses too, that's like the last size pretty much allowed. And then we do the half loads if it's going into like a rifle, or if we're outside, like we did a lot of half loads on the show because a lot of it was outside. And then for the full loads, it's very rare still that I use a full load, unless like an actor is just really weird and wants it. Alec only wanted to train with full loads because he wanted it to look realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time I'll use full loads if it's a really big gun, like a trapdoor or something, a trapdoor rifle. That would have a lot of smoke coming out of it, so you want to make sure it looks realistic.
Okay. Were all of these used for rust?
Fulls were used for us, some of my eighths were used for us, quarters were used for us, and halves were used for us, yeah. Okay. So it was really a variety and just depending on the situation.
Okay. And then, is anyone allowed to bring their personal firearms on the set?
No.
Did you see anybody bring personal firearms?
No.
And did you ever see anyone bring ammo?
No.
Okay. Did anybody ask you about going target shooting?
Yeah. The Wranglers made a joke about it one time to me, and I said something to the effect of, well, you can try, you don't have the ammo.
Okay. What did they say? Do you remember?
Not really. I don't really remember what they said.
But they insinuated about shooting actual rounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that they were joking, though.
Okay.
A lot of boys on set will be like, oh my god, can we go shoot the guns? It's just, yeah.
But no one pressured you into...
No one ever seriously pressured me into it.
What about Sarah?
What about Sarah?
Did she ever mention anything about...
Shooting? No. Sarah, yeah, no. She never mentioned anything about shooting, and we left every day at the same time and pretty much got there just around a little after each other.
Okay. So as far as safety protocols on set, do you recall any sort of safety protocols during the time of the production?
We had a couple of safety meetings. A lot of days we did not.
which normally it's typical anytime that there's firearms or live animals on set or open flame, you do a safety meeting. So a lot of those days we did not have a safety meeting. Other than that,
Who hosted them?
Huh?
Who hosted those safety meetings?
Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember what they were about?
Guns, the guns and everything. We also said, you know, because actors will leave guns around sometimes, they'll forget them. So we always told people, you know, like, don't ever touch a gun if you see it, you know, because Jensen totally left his on the snack bar one time. Yeah. And we found that pretty promptly, but...
Isn't your snack bar down at base camp?
No.
Where was it?
It's on set. We can't, like, go all the way back to base for snacks.
Well, so I was like,
no, I think you're thinking of the cafeteria.
Yeah,
where we
maybe that's
went.
it.
Yeah, no, we have Crafty on set, really close to set most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that would be interesting. Talking about the snack bar, like the little, like, trailer that has all the...
No, just Crafty. Just a table on set with, like, nutritious bars on it.
My favorite part of getting to work movie sets is...
Oh, yeah.
Have, like, a little
I love when they have the trailer. Yeah, those are the legit ones. This one was, like, stupid cheap. Yeah, they, like, barely let her make soup for us. They barely let her make soups for us, and she had to fight hard for the soup. I called Becca the soup angel. She fought hard for those soups.
Did you ever see safety bulletins?
Where would they be posted, I wonder? You know, sometimes they would put some things in the call sheet, you know, like some safety bulletins and everything.
Do you remember what they said?
I think they would pertain to COVID. They would pertain to, you know, like firearms on set. They would pertain to live animals. Yeah, it's usually kind of like in red on the call sheets.
Okay.
Other than that, they would sometimes in an email, like, put it in red, like, anything you needed to know about the day.
Do you still have those emails?
I think I might have some of those emails still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Yes,
grab
those too. Yeah,
because,
sure.
that's, you know, obviously
Yeah.
a big, who distributes, because you guys would get call sheets the night before.
Yeah.
Right.
Tim Becerra usually sent them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is his position?
He is also an assistant director, but he's more of the type where he is never on set and his only job is sitting in the office and creating these schedules and doing all the paperwork.
So he's normally out.
Yeah, he's normally never on set, that poor boy.
All right. Who would you say is in charge of those safety meetings that were being held?
Dave, and then the first time we did it, he let me speak. Yeah, and I told people, you know, like, these are regular weapons we have on set. Don't stand in front of them. Don't point them at anybody. And then after that, the only other one we had was the day of, and Dave kind of just covered most of that.
Okay. Do you remember what he talked about today?
Not entirely. He just told everybody, like, you know, we do have, like, blanks on set. We are going to have a lot of gunfire today. Real guns on set. No one touched them, you know.
Okay.
And things like that. And also things about the horses he told.
When did you host a safety meeting?
I never hosted one all by myself.
Okay. What you said that he let you do one, though?
He let me hop in on his.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, Hannah, do you have anything else to add? And I said, yeah. And I said, let's be safe, you know, like, no one be standing in the way of these things, and just, like, don't be, if it's pointing in that direction, don't stand in front of it.
Okay. Do you remember what day that was, then?
That was the first day we had gunfire on set, which I believe was the second day that we started on set filming.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what do you teach actors or crew members when it comes to gun safety?
So it really also depends on the actors too. You know, like big ones like Nick Cage, if they tell me, if they tell the director, like, you know, that they don't really care to do it, I can try to teach them for the most part, but like a lot of the times they might not even listen to me or really pay attention or be on their phone. Alec was on his phone a lot of that entire thing. But for the most part, they put me in training this time. It was pretty irregular how I trained actors this time. This time they put 9 people all together in one day that I was supposed to train. And during this time, they put a ton of producers right there. Normally I train the actors one-on-one. It makes them feel comfortable. It allows them to not be distracted and everything. And this time they had me training 3 people at once, and a ton of producers behind me. The director is there too. The producers are talking to the actors were distracted even too. And I tried my best to work with all 3 of them. I worked with Jensen. You could probably see a video of him saying like, she showed me like, this is how you check it, you know, this is how we make sure it's safe. So I try to do that standard same thing every time, show them how to check their own gun and show them how to make sure it's safe. And then I always I have them draw it a few times, you know, with nothing in there. Make sure that they have the draw down. Usually a little before that, I'll have them like just fire off a couple of quarter loads, you know, so they can get the idea, not drawing it from their thing, but just holding it and firing it so they can understand what they're going to be doing.
Okay.
And then after that, we work on the actions that they're going to specifically do. So, you know, if I know that they have a scene and everything, we kind of talk it out together and like how they would run, pull it out, what they could do, you know, how not to let it fall on the ground, how not to like let rocks get inside of it. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What about safety rules? Do you advise them any of those?
Safety rules such as, I tell them all the time not to point them at each other. That's my biggest one, and I always say to everyone in front of them, I'm like, if you don't have to be here, don't be here. You know, other than that, safety-wise, I tell them to keep their finger out of the trigger guard unless they're ready to shoot, because that's how a lot of accidental discharges will happen. And that's just what my dad's told me, at least. So I always try to advise them to keep their finger out of the trigger guard, and yeah.
Okay. Besides you, were there any other trained armorers on the set?
Sarah was kind of trained by Seth. Yeah. I believe Sarah did a show before, and I think that there were 2 guns involved in the show. And Seth, I trained her personally for that.
Okay.
And then I also kind of showed her what to do at the beginning of it to make sure that she wouldn't have an accidental discharge. But she still did, so.
Yeah. So before any gun scene, even just like rehearsal or filming or anything of the sort, did they do a brief?
You know, sometimes they would have time to like really go into it and everything and like kind of, you know, work out the action. Sometimes they would do like an overall one, you know, where they kind of just say like bang, 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 bang. So we did have some rehearsals. Sometimes, you know, there wasn't always rehearsals.
Okay.
So sometimes, yeah, we totally had like rehearsals, usually the big ones, and we just kind of have people go bang, 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 bang.
All right. As far as, so what it's been referred to as the show and tell day, where you brought out
Yeah.
pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, we brought out every gun that we had that Seth gave to us, and the director really just wanted a lot of options for people, especially because there are so many big names on this. So he wanted to be sure that all the actors knew that it was possible for them to switch around their guns, and that just because we had thought that they would look good with that gun doesn't mean that they were stuck with it.
Okay. Can you go into a little bit more detail about how this day played out? Like, where did you guys set up this table?
Okay.
And
yeah. So the day played out, we go to the edge of the town and everything, away from all the people working on the other side. They set up a table, they set up an easy up for us, and the prop truck was coming later that day, so that was finally the first day that we got to get the prop truck going. I brought...
How long does she go into the day?
You're all right. I'm sorry, I don't recall.
Was it more than 20 minutes? Let's break so that we can have this uninterrupted, what went on in the day.
And just to be clear, I think what she's talking about is the day of the show and tell. Is that your understanding, Corporal? Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was the day of October 21.
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to keep going or you want to break?
No, we'll keep going.
Okay. Sorry.
Gun safe in my tiny Honda fitted in there, and so I had that with me right next to us, and I kept all the ammunition in my trunk and everything, and Sarah had all of the guns in her trunk, and so we took all those guns out of the trunk and we put them on the table. We had 2 tables, so we had 2 tables filled with long rifles, short guns, a lot of guns. And then also, once the show and tell was over, Joel was pretty cool. He was happy with everything. After that was over, he stuck around, and then, like, I think the first couple of actors showed up for training and everything, because I remember they said, like, okay, you're going to have, like, 3 at this time, and, like, 3 here and 3 there, and I was like, all right, like, that's kind of manageable. And it is kind of manageable, you know, and it definitely, I've worked with 2 at a time before. 3 is manageable, but, like, also then all of a sudden with the actors, all these producers came, like a ton of producers. And so the producers are just kind of behind us the whole time. The guns are out there. We put a lot of them away that we didn't need for the training that day. So Sarah put a lot of those away, and we just kept those in my car because I had the safe, and ultimately I was going to put them in the safe at the end of the day. And then, so the actors came, we started training and everything, and then all of a sudden, a producer just like jumps into the training because I guess he was also firing, but they didn't schedule him for me. So at one point, I was training 4 people at one time, which is a little chaotic. Yeah, so
when you had them, sorry, but when you had them all out on the table, how many people would you say were there, like max at a time, that were
probably like 10
messing?
10, and like not everyone was really allowed to mess with them, you know, like a couple producers like would ask if they could touch them. Ultimately, I always get pissed at people if they touch them without my permission.
Okay.
Joel, I let do that. You know, Joel is the director. He can touch them. But yeah, other than that, most people were there, and most people would be like, wouldn't even ask to touch them. Yeah, good like 10 producers were there.
Okay.
Yeah, and Gabby and Ro were there at the beginning, and eventually, like, they left with kind of everybody.
Okay.
And then towards the end of, so at the beginning of the day, I was supposed to train 6, and then I had an hour-long break, you know, and I think I was there from like 9 to like 2 or 8, and yeah, 9 to 2. Just training actors pretty much the entire time, and doing the show and tell. And then, so I trained 6 of them then, and then plus that producer that they threw in there randomly. And then after that, an hour went by, and I trained Devin, and I trained Miller. And yeah, and the last guy didn't show up.
Okay. Who was the producer that you trained?
Nathan.
Okay. Do you remember his last name?
No, not really. He was on set a lot. He was like a nice younger one, kind of.
Okay. How long would you say you spent with each group training?
With each actor, probably like 30, 20 minutes or so. Yeah, usually I like to work with the actors one-on-one and get like a full 30 minutes to an hour in, you know? But that's just not how it went on this one.
Who made that call?
Gabrielle.
Okay. Did she give you a time limit?
She just put 3 people together. Like, she scheduled it like that, and she said they had other things to do and had other, you know, they had to go and do training with the Wranglers. And a lot of this training was, like, the day before. Yeah, they're like, ride a horse now, and now you get to shoot a gun, and, like, yeah.
You get to shoot a gun off a horse.
Yeah, honestly, this is crazy because a lot of the times they have actors start working with the horses, like, months in advance, because you can grasp the guns a little quicker than like a weird living animal and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, they didn't have people training on horses well in advance for this either, which I thought was pretty wild.
Another total off subject, but I was, you know, we brought Jensen in here and spoke to him, and I found out that the gentleman who provided the horses for this set, I used to actually be a wrangler for him.
Oh, really? That's fun. Isn't he so cute?
His horses are terrifying.
Yeah, no, the horses are scary. I honestly, I was trying to get out of westerns because every western I'm on, a horse almost kills me.
Yeah.
Shit you not. Like, horses back up crazy. And, like, no one even said, like, not to walk behind the horses on this. And I was like, Sarah. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know, I was just, like, the complete lack of just, like, yeah.
Yeah, I used to wrangle for him. And
Yeah, I love Rowley. He's a sweetheart, but yeah, the horses are bad. But honestly, like, it's been a long time since I've been able to work with any really good horses because I have been doing independence. You know, no one can afford, like, the good horses that Magnificent Seven had back when I was there in 15, you know.
Well, he used to do all kinds of, like, trail rides and stuff like that, too. But, I mean, I can tell you, like, because he goes, when they do trail rides, they go up, you know that mountain that has a cross on it, down at the end of Bonanza?
Yeah.
So he used to take the horses up that mountain.
Yeah.
And I just remember one day he put me on a thoroughbred that came off the track, a mare, and like she was hot. She was a hot horse.
Yeah.
So he like slightly drugged her up before this trail ride.
Yeah.
Like
I remember a couple of the horses.
She was off in her own world. We'll just say that.
Yeah. A couple of the horses got loose on this. One like made a full ass run for it like 3 times during one scene. They did their best they could to catch it, and eventually they started catching.
Okay, we're going to break for the evening. Remember, this is what, got a couple more hours on this maybe?
Less than a couple. I'm sorry, less than a couple, but we've still got quite a ways to go.
So that,
and if I can, Judge, just for the record, we stopped this redacted video at 1 hour and 5 minutes.
okay, so we will carry this on tomorrow. This will be what we queue up with. Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court. Don't do any research. Don't look up the movie set or this case or anything. Thank you. Have a good evening. See you at 8:30 downstairs.
All rise.